Hey, chat. So, very, very chill today. Very, very. Hi, Isma. So today I'm gonna be doodling, just working on stuff from my portfolio for my VGen. But also there has been a new Mujin video, and I figured it's an AI art video probably. So, yeah, it is it. So why not listen to it while I actually work on the art? But anyway, yeah, we're gonna chill and we're gonna start working on that. One sec. I am a professional. No, I'm not, but I'm trying. It's not a VTuber stream if it's not at least a little scuffed. Just the tiniest bit scuffed. Okay. There we go. Okay. I swear, I am professional scuff, okay? All I know is the scuff life. Okay, okay. We are good. We're actually good now. We're actually good now. Okay. I promise. And yeah, big. Yes, we are good. We are totally good. Okay, so I'm again working on a YouTube banner. Uh, Still getting used to the dimensions, trying my best. But yeah, just listening to a little Mugen, and I started it like a few minutes in, and I'm like, okay, this is gonna be a lot. Okay, wait. Of course. I can't hear it. Oh, thank you for letting me know. That is weird. Hmm. Okay. Okay. I'm gonna back up tiny bit and let me know how the audio is. Okay.
Way she operates,
Yes,
and on
I'm
June
professional.
14th, after many months, would release a Google Doc exposing
Let me know if you can
Chokopiia
hear it now.
and her best friend Nyan Yakwi of tracing, scamming, doxing, and
Okay,
a multitude of different things. The document itself is over 100 pages, and it's a work of art, formatted beautifully with different sections, color codings, and GIFs. It does its best to provide proof in regard to the accusations made against Chokopiia and her friend, as well as, more importantly, pointing out the red flags you should look out for when trying to commission an artist. So due to the rise of AI and the significance of this topic affecting so many people, I figured we had to talk about it. And so without further ado...
Okay, I saw it vaguely on Twitter. I rarely check Twitter because it was trending. Well, uh, anyway, I saw it, the bonus doc about like advice on the commissioning, and I like that Teru made a second doc separate just to give people advice on how to commission or things to be aware of. Maybe we'll check it out after we see this video. It's like the video is like 2 hours long. So maybe we'll check out the advice doc, uh, just to make sure commissioners are aware of like signs, and then move at their own discretion. So we'll check that out maybe.
Let's do this. All right, so when you go to Chokopai's Twitter account, the first thing you notice is that they joined the website on October 2025. Don't let that fool you though, because they've been doing this for a while. As I said in the intro, they have many different accounts, with some created earlier. And if we were to go back in time even further, then you'd find that she's been active in Russian-speaking communities for even longer. If you browse Twitter, especially if you're in certain fandoms or seem to like fan art a lot, then you've probably already seen the things that she posts on your feed. This high level of engagement has allowed her to build quite a following on her main account on Twitter, as well as on other platforms like her Instagram. If you go to her Patreon, not only can you subscribe, but you can also buy her brushes. This is aimed for people who want to emulate her style. So far, this has been a success, seeing that she has over 180 paid members on her Patreon and can charge over $700 for a single commission. Another person of interest in Teru's document is Nian Yakuya.
Yeah, actually. Okay. So I also have a Ko-fi. Kofi? Is it pronounced Kofi or Ko-fi? Um, and the payments are made through PayPal. Payments can be made through PayPal. Um, I personally feel more comfortable doing it through a service site rather than just directly. Um, to me, so I've been a little lore. I've been a commission artist since I was 19 actually, to help pay for college. Um and I've had I would say a wonderful experience. But my I can't speak, I apologize. My personal preference is usually I had an Etsy, and then I just keep paying for those like billing things. I just can't personally. So I have a VGen, but if you can't use VGen, I have a Ko-fi. I believe it's in my panels on Twitch, and I will make a link tree as well. After stream, I will try to make it after stream today, so it's easier, and just put in the description for my YouTube. Um, but yes, there are many. I have a diverse avenue to help people make commissions in case the certain platform is just not for you. So yeah.
Otherwise known as Maria, someone who's also been around for a while and who is a close friend to Chokopai, emulating her exact strategy in building a following and then selling products. And so this is where Teru comes in, an artist that's had their eye on both Chokopai and Maria and who's exposed other AI tracers in the past, like Asami, an AI tracer who had gone as far as using a chroma key to hide an entire color from a drawing time-lapse in order to hide the fact that they were tracing right then and there. Now, Teru didn't come out with this document about Chokopai randomly. They've been calling them out for a long time. In fact, as far back as October 29th, 2025, when they would quote tweet one of their suspected alt accounts by the name of Michi and say, "Showing layers means nothing when you're tracing AI. Posting a time-lapse is better proof, except you had tried that with your previous account, Chokopai Art, and people didn't buy it back then either. And it clearly didn't work with your Mashiro account, so maybe just stop tracing? Smiley face?" So even as far back as October, Teru was implying that yes, Chokopai had alt accounts and that she was trying to do this multiple times. But that wouldn't be the only time that Teru would directly call out Chokopai before releasing their document. Here's a tweet from March 22nd, 2026, in which they say, "Imagine being such a disingenuous fraud post."
Yeah, AI tracing is very much a thing. It's like usually when people generate something like, for example, on Mid-Journey or something, and then they just trace over it, or like a fake sketch over it to make it look like they actually did it when they did not. um it's sad, disappointing even. Hope to spit on it, and not in a pleasing way. Um yeah, there are uh I mean, I feel like that's not AI tracing, that's AI regenerating because you're putting something in. There are sadly AI bots trained off of artists unconsensually to mimic their art style. Very sad, very disappointing. It was in another Mujin video, I believe, on Asami, the last person. So very sad, very disappointing, very real thing. That's why I think it's great that Teru made another doc giving advice on things to be aware of before commissioning people.
This and pretending that your improvement is genuine when you're just a pathetic slop-rater. You're spitting on the face of artists who actually put effort to improve, so next time maybe compare it with your real art while adding Chokopiia. In the image posted, Teru would show us the old art of Chokopiia in which there was some light progression versus the incredible leap of skill that we see from 2024 to 2025, in which Teru alleges that Chokopiia started using AI full-time. In fact, Teru would say it themselves. Typical AI grifters suddenly gaining 10 years of experience after 2024 and still clinging to their delusions, trying to pretend that they've put half the effort to develop that skill. You love to see it. Now look, the artist community despises generative AI. What they despise even more, arguably, is people trying to pass off generative AI as their real art while also charging for commissions and products, like brushes on Patreon. So Teru wouldn't be the only one to call out Chokopii's behavior in the last few months or even year. They would, however, be the only person willing to make a long, well-formatted Google Doc while presenting what they think is irrefutable proof that both Chokopiia and their best friend, Nyanyakwi, are AI tracers, running multiple accounts at the same time and trying to scam as many people as possible, hoping to take down this facade once and for all. On June 14th, they would post, Chokopiia and Nyanyakwi have been tracing AI across many alt accounts. From fraud to harassment and doxing, here's how to spot similar accounts that are selling traced commissions. They would then continue saying, back in
Disgusting.
October of last year, I quote tweeted a post from one of the accounts involved. All this time, I've been stressed from the fact that I was
I heard. I don't. I. That's why I'm watching this Mojin video. I heard about some of the doxing this person has done, and I immediately I immediately thought of that one low tier god clip that went around a super long time ago, where it's just like, you are worthless, you contribute nothing to society, and I was like, that's what I immediately thought of because I don't know all the details, but from what I did hear, it's disgusting. It truly is disgusting.
publicly denouncing someone without being able to provide all of the evidence right away. I'm sorry it took so long. I knew about Chokopiia before Asami, and Asami's doc was just a small side task while working on Chokopii's doc. I never expected Asami's doc to become viral, so that was extremely stressful as well, because I was trying to avoid being the AI doc person, but now my reputation is set. Now, I don't think anyone expected Asami's doc to go as viral as it did, but seeing that she tried to fake a time lapse using a green screen, yeah, that went viral everywhere, even overseas, right? Even Japanese people were like, what the hell is this person doing?
Yeah,
Which eventually, of course, prompted me to cover Teru's doc about Asami. And in that video, I was taken aback as to how well formatted Teru's document was. And of course, here they do it again. Incredible formatting, multiple sections, time lapses built into the document itself in GIF format, and organized so neatly. It really is incredible. The document itself is around 111 pages long. Around 91 of them are dedicated to both Chokopiia and Maria with their alt accounts. The last 20 pages call out other examples of AI tracers, which for the sake of this not getting too confusing, we're just going to focus on Chokopiia and Maria. But that's only part 1 of the document. There's also a part 2, 31 pages long. But I'd say this is more of a bonus. It's really about AI tracer red flags, something very important if you seek to commission an artist. But seeing that it simply goes more into detail about things that are mentioned multiple times in the original document, we won't be going over this, but I'll be linking it in the description. If you ever plan to commission artists, definitely take a look at it first. Alright, let's get into this. The document starts off saying, Chokopiia, the Russian fraudster charging up to $700 for traced AI commissions under multiple identities. This document is about fraud, scamming, and the ongoing issue of
cringe.
artists charging hundreds of dollars for commissions.
$700 for literally $700 to trace over something. Cringe. Get a life. Get a job. Touch grass.
Are traced from AI. Chokopiia runs multiple Twitter and Patreon accounts pretending to be different artists, owes clients hundreds of dollars from undelivered work, more specifically, clients who commissioned them under the assurance that she was a genuine artist and not tracing AI, harasses other artists, and has doxed people simply because they told others she was tracing AI. As she encourages her artist friends to trace AI as well, she's the center of a Russian-based AI tracing circle on Twitter. My intention with this document is to raise awareness of AI tracing fraud commissions and how time lapses are not definitive proof that someone isn't tracing. The doc will be archiving Chokopiia's manipulative behavior and her long history of pretending to be a victim that is falsely being accused of tracing. While you can browse the doc using the tab on the left, let me emphasize on these sections. And here we have 4 different sections. Number 1, ghosting clients and not delivering work, on top of the work already being fraudulent as it would be traced. Number 2, pretending to be different artists to farm traced AI commissions. Number 3, gaslighting, making fun of other artists, and plagiarizing art while acting oblivious.
Okay, listen, I publicly, I cannot encourage or dissuade you because I know a lot of people use AI for college and like work and school work and stuff. So I will not be publicly encouraging or dissuading you. That's it.
And 4, doxing and mocking a pregnant artist. So yeah, we're barely halfway through the first page, and
that's what I think. That's one of the things that pissed me off the most. When I heard that about that, I don't know the details. That's why I'm watching this, but to do that to a pregnant woman, you're the scum of the earth. It made me think of that one. Wait, give me a sec. I need to pull this up. That one Dr. Phil clip that was killing me. I will find this because I need you to understand how I feel about this.
Go kill yourself. Nobody likes you. Everybody hates you. You would do better off.
No, that is not it. Here it is.
You're ugly. You're disgusting. I'm going to kill you. Give me $200.
That's that is exactly what I was thinking. Oh my god, I think I know the one you're thinking of.
You're ugly. You're disgusting. I'm going to kill you. Give me $200.
That's exactly. Where is it? Let me see if I can. I think this is it. Is this it?
And you're one of the most well-known faggots that keep coming in every stream.
Oh, that is not it. I apologize for that. That is not it. Where is it? Dude, what was the one where it's like it's just like you contribute nothing to society. Yes, that's the one I was thinking of. That I'm like, dude, what?
you can see it's already quite heavy. The document would also specify Chokopiia isn't the only scammer I will cover in this document. Notably, one of her closest friends also operates in a similar way. Her own section will be near the end of the document. Here are the multiple accounts that Chokopiia runs on Twitter. Chokopiia Rewards, Chokopiia, Meech111, Meechy20, Mashiro WWW, Levadiol, Kira Uip, UIIJ9P, and Choco Shitpost. Before I begin, I will make it clear again that the purpose of this document is
how
for
do you
clients to know
have
what to look out for
so
before
many accounts? Get a life, you loser. Get a life. Get a job. Touch grass. Photosynthesize. Contribute to society. Like, what? You absolute loser.
commissioning new artist accounts, so they don't end up paying for traced AI. These accounts often have no AI in their bio, deceiving potential clients by implying they don't use AI. Despite that, I know some people might still argue, well, they like the final product, so why do they care after they found out it was traced from AI? When it comes to artistic endeavors and purchases of any types, not just art, the process advertised is just as important as the final product. Otherwise, it's fraud. If the commission was traced from an existing artwork,
Yeah, about that. Yeah, it is fraud. Legally, it's fraud. And one day, these AI tracers are going to rip off the wrong person by charging $1,000+ for something they traced of AI, and they are going to do it to the wrong person who has the what's the word? The financial time and status and amount where they will take you to court. They are going to do it to the wrong person, and they will find out. They absolutely will find out. And it's gonna be hilarious. It's going to be hilarious. And I will be sitting front row with my popcorn. But no, this Chokopiia person needs to get a life, get a job, contribute to society, photosynthesize, touch grass, leave the house, you absolute freaking loser.
that wasn't AI, it would still be plagiarism. So yeah, usually the logic behind hiring a very talented artist is the fact that they took years to perfect their craft and you're paying for that perfection. If that talented artist turns out to be someone that just uses AI, then I doubt anyone would say, yes, this justifies the price, right?
Yeah.
And so the document continues. Chokopiia
If
uses
they're allergic to grass, even better. Go roll in the grass, please. For you to dox people for calling you out for the truth and for the nonsense that I'm hearing, you loser, you absolute waste of space. Go find a pick me goth mommy to ruin your life, who will then cheat on you, steal your money, and leave you. You waste of worthless space.
Telegram a lot. So a lot of screenshots will be from Telegram, machine translated from Russian to English. To validate the authenticity of these posts, instead of directly screenshotting the Telegram channel, I will use telemeter.io, a service that lets you see Telegram posts on your browser. That way, anyone can confirm none of the Telegram screenshots are edited and translate them on their own. For example, Chokopiia is already aware that I know about her. And so here we can see on the left an image of a post that Chokopiia has made in Russian, and on the right we can see the machine translated post saying, "Can you believe that someone actually cares so much about me that some crazy woman on Twitter has been writing about me for a month now?" Smiley face. And I can confirm that telemeter.io is a legit source. When you click on it, it shows you the post in question with its analytics and the date it was posted as well. The document continues. Chokopiia already commented about the stock back in February 2026 before I even began working on it, and claims everything I will mention is fabricated. I have to clarify that my goal is not canceling Chokopiia or anyone mentioned later in the stock. In 2026, there is such a thing as being too big to fail, so my focus is entirely on art clients becoming more aware of AI tracers and—
That's true. I guess that's true. I was about to say something very mean. You know what? If someone rats you out or lies to the KGB about you, don't be too surprised. Remember that, Chokopiia. Because however malicious you are to other people, there will always be someone willing to return that. If you want to play these games, someone will take it to hell.
Knowing what red flags to look out for before commissioning art. Accounts like Chokopiia mislead people while charging clients hundreds of dollars for commissions when the work they deliver is traced. And here on the right, we can see an image of a post that Chokopiia had made on Telegram, saying the craziest thing is that she wants to drag my entire circle of friends into this mess. Here she's referring to Teru. God, let her just come down from the heavens to earth for starters. I'm sure there isn't even 1% of truth in this leak. Leak refers to the document. The main thing is to paint me as Hitler as much as possible? No. So to Chokopiia, this was nothing more than a harassment campaign. An attempt at painting her as the worst person imaginable when she's completely innocent, right? The document would continue. Chokopiia also posts videos like these to fool people into thinking that her art is not generated with AI. And so here we can see 3 GIFs of sped up time lapses that Chokopiia had posted on her socials. It doesn't really seem like she's drawing in any of them, just filling layers with colors. While Chokopiia doesn't really hide the fact that she is tracing to her private Russian fans, she's often hiding comments on Twitter and blocking users who mention AI. Chokopiia has 2 active Telegram accounts. Her main art account and post account is where she blatantly confirms using AI and makes fun of other artists with her friends, but it goes private whenever people on Twitter bring up her lies and past conflict with the Russian art community. So on the right, we can see 2 images. The first one being her main Telegram group, the one open to the public. It's called Chokopiia and has the image of Pavel Durov, the founder of Telegram. On the second image, we can see the private channel that has images of macarons with strawberries. And speaking of that private group, we'd see 2 different posts. The first one, in which Chokopiia says, "There will be no proof because I have 20 years of experience. I've been drawing since I was born with an AI in my arms. And of course, I have 50 IQ. Shut up." In the second post, she says, "I will trace AI until your grandchildren come of age." These 2 posts were made in 2025. The document would continue. There's more messages with a similar tone, bragging about using AI, if you want to look them up on her telemeter.io page. But I feel like the point is already very clear, so let me go back to her multiple accounts and how she pretends to be different artists to farm traced AI commissions and multiple Patreon pages. So here we can see multiple screenshots of those different accounts, and the document says, Chokopiia runs multiple accounts under different identities. Chokopiia, Michi, Mashiro, Lavariol, Kira, etc. I will try to make it as straightforward as possible what connects these accounts together, but I will elaborate more on each individual account later. First, let's look at Chokopiia's signature featured through her old account images and put it next to Mashiro and Lavariol's signatures. This font name is called Paragraph and does not come pre-installed on Windows. So here we can see 3 different images. Chokopiia's old signature, Mashiro's signature, and Lavariol's signature. They all use the same exact font. Teru would then say, but for all we know, this could be a coincidence or they could all be friends sharing the same font. Yet Michi, who is Chokopiia, said she has no connection to Mashiro, but for all we know, this could be a coincidence or they could all be friends sharing the same font. Yet Michi, who is Chokopiia pretending to be her own sister, has said she has no connection to Mashiro or Chokopiia. Back in October 2025.
You absolute cringe loser. You have so little genuine friends, and you are so desperate for a crumb of attention because your parents never loved you that you will fake a sibling. You freaking loser. You absolute waste of oxygen and space. So pathetic. It's funny.
I had QRT'd one of her posts claiming that she was Chokopiia and Mashiro. As I had not engaged with her on Twitter before, Michi confidently said that she had no connection with these people, but quickly backtracked when I replied with a tweet where she explicitly says Chokopiia is her sister. So here we can see Teru's call-out post back in October 2025. Michi would reply saying layers are not evidence and even streams are not evidence, so what is? Layers show that this is a human work, and I have shown a speed paint. I really put my heart and soul into it, but I have no connection with these people, referring to Chokopiia and Mashiro, and I would like to ask you to stop writing about it. Thank you for your time. Teru would then link a tweet from Michi's 18+ account saying, "This you?" in which we can see Michi saying, "It's okay, I am pleased to be compared to my sister, I look up to her," heart emoji, referring to Chokopiia, to which Michi would say, "What my sister did had nothing to do with me." So a complete backtrack on saying, I don't know who these people are. The document continues, on Michi's original tweet claiming she isn't tracing, more on that much later.
Oh my god. You're friendless, parentless, maidenless, even dirt has more worth than you in society. I like that. I like that. You freaking pathetic waste. Oh my god. You know what? Sometimes I feel bad for making fun of like being mean, but this person is absolutely disgusting of how they treat other people. Like obviously I hate how they used AI, but to me the way they treated other people by doxing, including a pregnant woman, you freaking loser. What, are you just jealous so other people can get laid? Are you that jealous and pathetic, you freaking incel virgin? Oh my god. I don't know if I can get through this video because I'm gonna try to, but there's so, oh my god. All I do is repeat myself because that's what they are. They were a maidenless incel virgin. They're jealous that another person is likable enough to get laid. Loser.
She posted a Google Drive link that leads to a folder with her time lapses. These were uploaded by an account named Nympha Tian. This Google account also just so happens to have an AI-generated image as their profile picture. The document would then say there's an Instagram profile with the username Nympha.
Literally all of this because you don't even want to try to pick up a pencil. You don't even want to try. Seriously? How pathetic. Actually, that says a lot about your determination and willpower. Pencilless. It says a lot about how you have no will, no determination to put in effort into learning. Dude. Like, I doubt I could even ask you to pick up a Dr. Seuss book. Okay, you probably stutter and can't read. You illiterate fuck. I'm sorry. I'll chill out. I'll chill out. They're just a loser.
_Tian that links to a DeviantArt account, and while the DeviantArt account is currently deactivated, there is an archive of it on the Wayback Machine. The link in the About section leads to a Pixiv account, ID 514-14202, with the name Lavadiol. On Lavadiol's Patreon, they disclose using AI. Teru is a private detective. What the hell is even happening? Damburu also has the usernames Kira Uip and Nympha Tian under the artist page for Lavadiol. Why? While Lavadiol is the display name for the Pixiv account, the legacy username is Nympha Tian. So already, early on in the document, Teru is making the connection between multiple accounts, all belonging to Chokopiia. On Kira Uip's Twitter, you can see retweets of Chokopiia, Mashiro, and Michi posts. And the reason this account is under the Lavadiol artist name, as stated by Damburu mods, is the following. So when you change a username on Damburu, which is an image board site, you have to ask moderators and you have to give them a good reason. Here, the moderator's reasoning is public, saying, create alias from Kira Uip to Lavadiol. Reason? Because it's the same as her Patreon. So the person behind Kira Uip is the same person behind Lavadiol. The document continues, going back to the Wayback Machine capture of Nympha Tian's DeviantArt on the previous page, the Twitter button in the About Nympha Tian section leads to a Twitter account under the Nympha Tian handle. The link doesn't work as the Twitter account was renamed, but if you search for the previous username, you can see their current one, UIIJ9P, with the link to Lavadiol's Patreon on their bio. We can then see two images in the document showing that. Back in 2025, when Chokopiia stopped being active, Michi became more active instead. Michi's account was basically abandoned shortly after my quote retweet of her post. An account timeline will be provided later. Since I've yet to show any art examples of these accounts, here is a preview. All of these are traced from AI. So here we can see art from Chokopiia, Michi, and Mashiro. And Teru says, I'd like to point out that all of these accounts were following each other at one point. After all, Chokopiia doesn't seem to care if people know that she follows her multiple accounts, as she was quick to follow herself after she had made a new alt account for Mashiro, Mashiro_alt. And here we can see 2 images of that. Chokopiia.
Yeah. Too jobless. I like that. I like that. Let's see. Okay. Sorry. But anyway, it's so pathetic. It's funny. It truly is. It's so pathetic. It's funny. Dude, have you never had a job? Literally. Yeah, we are. Honestly, I don't care. After but seeing their action so far and what I'm hearing, I don't care. Is that mean? Is that horrible? Do I like being mean? No, I don't. But this person is garbage, so I don't care.
Following Mashiro and Mashiro following back. Chokopiia was taking commissions and running separate Patreon accounts for all of these at the same time, with the Michi account charging
Oh, it's always fine to be mean to mean people. Okay, here's the thing. I have worked in customer service since I was 15, 16. I have met garbage people and I've met wonder people. I don't care. I've worked in customer service. I don't care.
$700 for a commission, and Mashiro up to $253. We can also see Levadiol taking commissions, but without specifying the price. So yeah, a lot of money. Of course there are artists out there that charge this much, sometimes more. But that's typically because they've worked on...
Oh, no, I never worked in an insurance company before. I've dealt with insurance a lot, but I've never worked for an insurance company.
big projects before, they're highly in demand, they have incredible talent, and they worked hard on it for a very, very long time. And just bear in mind, the person charging $700 here is Michi, and as you'll find out later in the video, this was someone pretending to be a 15-year-old. I wish I was joking. Anyway, the document continues. As I have to go through almost 2 years worth of information and way more than just tracing, as this person is also extremely toxic, the document will be going in chronological order, starting...
Hey, listen, I treat my Sims horribly, but they're the only people I treat horribly. I can do that. I can do that to them. I can do it to my Mies. I can do it to my para character whatevers. It's for the giggles. It'll always be for the giggles.
2024, pointing out the red flags as I make my way from Chokopiia's old accounts to her most recent ones. A summary of red flags will be at the end of the document, now part 2, but these accounts usually have the same pattern. So here we have 3 steps in this pattern of behavior, the first one being a new Twitter account with no previous online art history, not a new account by an existing artist, and in many instances immediately buying a blue checkmark, a Twitter verified account. If there's old art online under that username, there is an extreme, nearly impossible jump in art skill, especially anatomy, within less than a year. The skill jump is usually during or after 2023 when AI Gen became more advanced. Number 2, comments mentioning AI are quickly hidden, and when people point out obvious AI/tracing elements in an uploaded image, the image is deleted. And number 3, refusing to provide proof, deflecting, becoming aggressive when asked about their process, and in most cases, the proof such as time lapses just raises more questions instead of clearing up a potential misunderstanding. But how much of a sudden skill jump? Something like this in 5 months. So here...
You loser. Is it so hard to pick up a pencil? Literally, people who don't have limbs, they do it as well. I have seen artists on my feed who are disabled and they still draw. It is not impossible if you have the determination for it. I'm sure you'll find a way if it's what you really want. But no, you are a lazy, pathetic, maidenless, jobless loser who won't even try. Literally, I don't think it's a sense of accomplishment. I think they just want the attention and money. I think that's the only reason people use AI like that. And you pathetic waste of space. I hope you do it to the wrong person. And I will laugh when they take everything from you.
We can see an image from Chokopiia on September 2024 with another image on the side from February 2025. The skill jump is not only massive here, but the art style is very different too. Everything from the anatomy, to the lighting, to the rendering, as well as just being able to draw boobs in a correct manner. I mean, this just seems like a 10-year skill jump, right? But Teru does specify, I have to make this disclaimer every time. Artists improve at different rates, and some people improve at impressive speeds within 1 to 2 years or even a couple of months thanks to a combination of discipline and effort. However, in the case of AR tracers, there are years of slow but steady improvement, yet only after 2024, they suddenly appear to master all areas of digital.
Okay, another bit of lore. Growing up, I was part of a private art program because art has always been a huge part of me. Um, and it was like a training program to help kids practice and improve their art to the point where they could earn scholarships through the program to colleges, which was really good. I enjoyed it. However, it was traditional art, and I eventually stopped because I drifted towards digital art. It is what it is. I'm not upset. But there are truly gifted people in art who have the discipline and the passion to work hard to improve at an amazing rate. This AI tracer is not one of them. They are pathetic. They are worthless. And I hope you're allergic to grass when you walk outside.
Art at once. More often than not, it's just suddenly being able to draw very anatomically mastered curvy anime girls. Fast improvement does not always imply AI tracing. So Teru makes it a point to point this out because yes, there have been real legitimate artists accused of using AI on Twitter because AI has become this widespread. It's very unfortunate. The document would continue saying, Chokopiia joined Twitter in June 2024 under the username Chokopiia_art. Pre-Twitter records will be condensed. Yeah, buckle up, because we're about to go through an entire history lesson on who Chokopiia is and her entire digital footprint history. So here we start off with the Telegram era.
The thing I don't like about art school here is that they will do anything to make you lose your style and will give you a bad grade if you don't do it like the teachers. Yes. Yeah, that's very true. It's very sad that that's very common in a lot of professional art fields, from my understanding. It was the same way when I was in college, doing an art class there. Um, yeah, it sucks. It genuinely sucks. It's sad. Yeah, but there, I, um, I had a best friend who was also in an honors art program in my school. This was before I went to college. So it's like high school, middle schoolish. She had a very distinct art style that was not very completely traditional. It was her own style. The art teacher did not like it at first and was always trying to correct her. But my friend, she is incredibly gifted. She is amazing. And she managed to get that art teacher to come around and acknowledge her skill. And I hope other people, if they experience a teacher, yes, a job, maiden, friends, parents, and a degree, okay? Like, dude.
Twitter, Chokopiia was more active on Telegram. Telegram is a Russian messaging app similar to Signal or WhatsApp. It has tons of different communities and art channels. To keep things extremely short and summarized on the situation back then, Russian artists on Telegram noticed that Chokopiia's artworks and improvement looked suspicious, and accusations happened during 2024. As it happens often with tracers, the time-lapse tends to give it away. Here's one of the first time-lapses that Chokopiia had provided to refute that she was tracing back then. So on the right, we can see some of these accusations coming from different Telegram groups against Chokopiia, and we can also see a time-lapse. This time-lapse has the same issues that we saw with previous AI tracers on this channel. When you draw an illustration, especially with this level of complexity, it is very messy. There's a lot of sketching, there's a lot of scaling up and down, there's a lot of movement. And yet, in this time-lapse, everything is just done perfectly. Not a single mistake is made. It's as if Chokopiia was able to just visualize this perfectly in her head and print this out with no mistakes.
Yeah, that's so blatant. Like, not even trying to hide. Okay? The only people that I am aware of that are even close to that type of skill are professional mangakas. In my personal opinion, that is the only type of person even remotely close to that type of skill set. And Chokopiia is not one of them.
Whatsoever. It's very fishy, especially if you're an experienced artist. Tara would say, what is wrong with this time-lapse? This is a Procreate time-lapse. Procreate has a feature where you can hide entire layers from showing in the final time-lapse, so tracing AI and faking evidence is very easy. But this isn't necessarily what gives it away. Rather, it is the lack of sketch and line work appearing out of thin air without a guide being placed without hesitation. While professionals and manga artists can draw without sketch guides, this is after years of experience and not something that is common. It's not a skill that a random new Twitter artist would be suddenly capable of. Under this, we'd see two images, one comparing Chokopiia's time-lapse to Asami's time-lapse. And we can see similarities in the sense that there are certain elements that are drawn before—
Yes, the One Punch Man mangaka, insane skill. The anime did it dirty. The anime did it so dirty.
they're even drawn. Like in Chokopiia's case, the hair is drawn before the head is fully drawn, almost as if she already knows the exact proportions. And in Asami's case, the head is drawn with a missing chin. That's because she already knew exactly where to place the other elements blocking the chin. That's not how drawing works, unless you've been doing it for like decades or something. So these were the trace time lapses. This then leads us to the next subsection in the Telegram era section titled Plagiarizing Artists. Even with Chokopiia sharing her time lapses to dismiss the AI tracing accusations, people on Telegram also noticed that she was running other Russian artists' work through image to image and then tracing over them. To quickly summarize, image to image is a plagiarism method to generate new AI images from an input image. Chokopiia uses a specific Telegram bot to generate the AI images she traces, and said bot does let you use image to image very easily. So look, in a nutshell, the way image to image works is that you take art from someone else, right? Let's say someone drew a girl. What image to image will do is take that same drawing and stylize it into another art style. The document shows a few examples, even documentation from that Telegram bot that uses image to image as well. This is very useful for AI tracers because let's say someone goes viral with a certain drawing that they made. You could just steal that, run it through a different art style, post it and say, oh, I was inspired by this person, which will of course net you a lot of engagement as well. But the thing with Chokopiia was she didn't even bother to credit the original artist that came up with the idea that she was stealing from. She would steal a drawing from an artist by the name of Shirorina, run it through image to image, make up a new style, post it, but would only credit them in the replies 2 months later, by the time everyone had already moved on. So look, these Twitter trends, they happen often. For example, the Brazilian Hatsune Miku, that was a Twitter trend. When it goes viral, many artists try to do it in their own style, that way they can also get some engagement off of it, but they typically always credit the original creator. That's just how things go. But in this case, even after running it through image to image, according to Teru, Chokopiia only credited the original artist after 2 months, by the time the post had died. Even if we were to assume that she didn't use AI here, this is still scummy. The document would then say, Choco had built a very negative reputation on the Russian artist community, not only because of tracing AI, but also due to her extremely toxic attitude. There are tons of receipts online from her exchanges with other Telegram artists, but as post-comment chains can't be seen on telemeter.io, I can't verify their accuracy. So here we can see 2 screenshots of Chokopiia without a telemeter.io link, machine translated from Russian to English. On the first image, we can see Chokopiia referring to her haters, the people accusing her of using AI, saying, "You are all just scum. Let each of you be humiliated. It will only be a joy for me. Change the usage. I will always leave links to you."
Oh my god. You projection much? Oh my god, the projection is crazy.
I won't give you life. So yeah, this is a rough translation, but the other screenshot here isn't as rough. It's something that Chokopiia will constantly do with people who call her out, calling them poor. In this case, she'd say, at least learn to read what I wrote. I only use the color picker from AI and get my style inspiration from a certain neural network on Twitter. And that's it. I have a lot of orders. And what about you? You're a poor piece of crap from an anonymous forum who's afraid to even show her face. But according to this document, being labeled as broke is the least of your worries as a Chokopiia hater, because we would then be led to the next subsection of the Telegram era, which is called doxing another artist. At some point between the comments above and her infamous Telegram history, Chokopiia doxed another artist who originally called her out for tracing AI. Due to the sensitive nature of the situation, I will not really elaborate on how or when. I'll just say that there's a reason Telegram has a reputation when it comes to moderation. So here Teru is referring to Telegram's loose nature of moderation. This app has a reputation of sharing, let's say, clips of certain things that can't be shared elsewhere, as well as having groups where you can just straight up buy illegal drugs. So in a nutshell, people can get away with a lot with this app. The document would continue, according to one of the multiple people I talked to who watched everything unfold on Telegram, this artist was the first one, or one of the first, to point out that Chokopiia was tracing. Chokopiia does have a very vindictive personality. The following voice messages should give you an idea. So before we get to these messages, let's see what this person who reached out had to say about their friend being doxxed. They'd say, "Hi, this whole situation has been going on for years between them, and it's very convoluted. I can't even remember who started the doxing first, but currently, blank has suffered the most. She apologized, left Telegram, and deleted everything. But Chokopiia, along with her followers, is still hounding her. Chokopiia orchestrated doxing against blank, leading to her relatives' cards being blocked, fake bomb threats being made, attempts to get them fired from their jobs, signing them up for bogus job interviews, and more. In my opinion, blank has truly changed and acknowledged
Gonna go to Steam and tell them they stole my account, so they send out to their house. Crazy. But yeah, no.
her past mistakes, including her role in the conflict with Chokopiia. I feel sorry for her because they still won't leave her alone. To me, the most important thing in a conflict is to bring it to an end, which she has done, yet Chokopiia simply refuses to calm down." So here are the two voice messages, converted from audio to text and then translated from Russian to English. Now this will be mentioned later in the document, but if you're a Russian speaker, you'll probably tell yourself this English translation does not do what she said justice. It is said in a way more aggressive manner. You can even say that it's unhinged. So just keep that in mind as we read these two messages. The first one, she'd say, "I'm just so fucking sick of it, seriously. Everywhere I go, like when I post something on an artist's public page, for example, I write something to the artist and then these fucking outsiders show up. Or just some random people who heard about it, but who knows what they actually heard. Like, oh, here comes this chick, what does she want? Go fuck yourselves. You're just so annoying. Because of these bitches, other people think I'm exactly what they say I am. I just don't have the energy for this anymore. Seriously, they're just spreading some kind of misinformation and it's really getting on my nerves. I'm seriously gonna post a thread like this once I get popular with their threats to me on the anonymous board. How they're calling me out as a Yiddish speaker." So here, this is a very rough translation. I'm pretty sure it's not Yiddish speaker. I guess it's more like AI user. It's gonna be such a mess. I'm gonna lay it all out in one post, tag every single one of these bitches so everyone knows whoever the fuck supports all this, fuck them. Why the fuck did they have the right to, like, fuck with my mental health, my fucking life, to incite people, well, basically to get people to harass me? Fuck them. They'll get it 100 times worse. And here's a second voice message where she says, "Fuck. My whole life's goal is to just strangle these little," I can't say that, but it's a slur that starts with F that's used towards gay people. So yeah, my whole life's goal is to just strangle these little blank one day. Just smack and they're gone. They've just pissed me off so much, I just can't take it anymore. And in the next two images, we can see Chokopiia flexing, or the fact that she was going to start a rumor about the person who had first found out about her AI usage. And in the other image, saying that, "Oh hey, I have blank's data," smiley face. The document would say, regarding these two images, "Since it's a sensitive matter, I won't provide detailed information regarding the doxing event. After talking to multiple Telegram artists who wish to remain anonymous due to Chokopiia's vindictive nature, I can confirm it did happen, but I will respect their anonymity wishes and the victim's privacy surrounding this event. Even though the victim apologized for calling out Chokopiia, left Telegram, and stopped posting online, Chokopiia still makes fun of them to this day. I will talk more about this later in the document." As mentioned before, Chokopiia uses a Russian Telegram.
You vindictive, pathetic, insecure piece of garbage. On the night of your conception, your parents should have rolled over. I envy anyone who has never met you or known about you. This is so sad and pathetic for this to happen to someone. You you do all these things to people because they call a duck a duck. You're mad, you're pressed because you have nothing, and you are nothing, and you'll always be nothing because you choose not to change through the display of your actions. Get a life. Get off the internet. Get a job. Do something with your life. Contribute to society. So worthless. Your birth certificate, a true um old saying is that your birth certificate was an apology from the condom factory. The only accomplishment in your life is winning the race and being born. Isma, yes. So true. Literally, that's all you've done in life. That's literally your only accomplishment that you will ever have, that you will take to your grave. You didn't even earn a participation award once in your life. Clearly, because you use AI to draw. But more importantly, you're doxing people for calling a duck a duck. If you don't want people to comment on your actions for using AI, maybe don't use AI. God, you're pathetic. Get off the internet.
Bot to generate the AI images she traces, but there's a specific style that she uses when generating AI. The art style belongs to Coquette, a famous Taiwanese artist. So here we can see two examples. On the left, we can see Coquette's art, and on the right, we can see AI-generated art, well, using their same style. Tara would say, without any context or information, you couldn't claim that specific Chokopiia artwork was traced at all. You could assume she's inspired by Coquette's style, or maybe just heavily referenced from AI. So first, let's take a look at the red flag I mentioned before. I believe this is the most important piece of evidence in most tracing situations. And so here we get to the final subsection of the Telegram era, which is sudden skill jump. The first and most important red flag according to Teru in spotting AI tracing users. They'd say, when someone has been a year, particularly after 2023. Let's take a look at Chokopiia's old art prior to 2023. As a reminder, her previous artist handle was Nymphia Tian. So here we can see art in 2019, 2020, 2021, and 2022. This is a very distinct art style. It doesn't really change much. And throughout the years, there is very slight improvement. The document would say there are no 2023 artworks, and maybe that was the year Chokopiia decided to lock in and get on that artist grind towards improvement. And it is possible for an artist to improve a lot within a single year. I could not find any 2023 artworks online, but according to this timeline of change in art style meme she had posted on Telegram, she was stuck with hard
Listen. Love thy neighbor. This ain't my neighbor. I don't know what this is. This is garbage on the curb.
art block, which might explain the lack of 2023 art activity. In parentheses, Teru would say it is possible that Chokopiia was running another AI/Tracer account during that time. And so in that image and that meme that she had posted on her socials, we can see her art progress from 2015 all up to the year 2024. In 2023, we see nothing. We see just, hey, I was art blocked, but the jump in skill from 2022 to 2024 is astounding. This leads us to the next section titled Twitter Era. Back to Chokopiia on Twitter, English artists didn't know about Chokopiia's reputation in the Russian artist community. At first, this looked like a normal artist account. Nothing really stood out at a glance. Without context, the first artwork she posted didn't look traced whatsoever. However, the odd improvement rate became extremely evident to some people, and new images uploaded started to show melted AI artifacts. We can see this in the images that are linked in the document, and yeah, some of the metal details of the dress look like they're melted. They don't really make much sense. We can even see people calling that out, and as soon as they did, they would get hidden and blocked. Taking advantage of the lack of translated information about her past history, she was trying to convince people this was her real skill while taking commissions. After all, Chokopiia had no AI on her bio for the longest time. And also back then, she was also charging money for commissions. For a bust, it was $50, half body $75, and full body $105. This was back in January 2025. On February 3rd, 2025, Chokopiia posted a time-lapse with a long message about being a victim of fake AI accusations. Once again, this was a Procreate time-lapse. Besides that, not knowing there's a hidden layer she's tracing from, nothing seems entirely wrong right away. She sketches the drawing before lining and even does a grayscale draft to plan out the highlights and shadows. So despite the fact that other people still pointed out the melting AI artifacts in previous drawings and the suspicious skill jump, most of Chokopiia's Twitter followers continued to believe she wasn't using AI. After all, Chokopiia learned what makes time lapses look very genuine after her multiple previous attempts at fooling more experienced Russian artists in the past. So according to Teru, this was someone who had learned how to fake time lapses, how to make them convincing. And I mean, technically speaking, if you can do that, then no one can really say anything, even if they're experienced. But this is what leads us to the next section, a worrying and growing trend among AI tracers to make convincing time lapses, and that's AR tracing pioneering scam tactics. Once Russian artists pointed out that Chokopiia's time lapses were not solid evidence that she was using Procreate and could hide the image she was tracing from when exporting the time-lapse video, Chokopiia decided to record a real video of herself drawing to finally refute all the tracing allegations. So here we can see 3 different GIFs of different sections of that time-lapse, and it's pretty much a camera recording Chokopiia drawing on her tablet. It's on a white canvas, right? She's drawing a drawing from scratch. It seems legit, and for just about anyone, that's what they would think. This is a legitimate time-lapse. But then Teru says, what is happening here? Chokopiia is evidently tracing AI, yet we're seeing her sketch in real time. This isn't a...
Yeah, AR, like, I've seen people like who do traditional art, like in notebooks, use AR tracing to get general designs, and then they do it in their own style. I've seen that. I think it's a cool thing. It is a thing. For you to do it of AI art proves nothing. God, you're so desperate to actually be known for accomplishing something and getting the attention that your parents never gave you. I bet when you asked for help on homework, the teacher groaned before trying to help you because they were done with your shit. So pathetic. So desperate to actually be somebody to never actually put in the effort to be worthy.
green chroma key trick, like the one that Asami used. This is called AR tracing. Isn't wearing a VR headset to draw. It's using an app to trace an image by elevating your phone on top of paper, or in Chokopiia's case, her tablet, and lowering the image's opacity on your phone so that you can use it as the tracing guide. The phone's back camera is also recording the paper, while you are tracing the image by looking at your phone screen. So the same phone that you're using to record yourself drawing is also your tracing guide. When you're drawing, you're not looking at your tablet or your piece of paper, you're looking at the phone recording as you let it guide you to trace. Yeah, I know, it's crazy, like the amount of effort that goes into this, pioneering a new technique. The document continues and says, thanks to fraudsters like Chokopiia, time lapses can't be trusted anymore, and not even real video recordings can be considered definitive proof these days. With a tripod and a tricky angle, you can just use AR to record a video of yourself drawing and fool any person who's not digital art savvy. I thought the renowned fraudster Asami Arts was going to try something like this, but she won-upped Chokopiia's fraud technique by chroma keying the AI image underneath. In the end, people found—
That's true. That is so funny. Asami, you know what? Oh my god.
that the chroma key video to deceive people was edited by her husband. When people see time lapses, and especially IRL videos, they quickly side with the tracer and dismiss all the other overwhelming evidence previously presented. I think most veteran artists would know if something odd is going on or not based on a drawing technique. That's why the videos that Chokopiia had recorded look odd to those familiar with art methodologies. It feels like she's tracing what seems to be an invisible image. It was the same with Asami's video. The sketching didn't appear to be natural when compared to her supposed art skill, but only people with digital art experience were able to tell. This was especially obvious when she sketched the hand with ball joints. It made no sense for someone of her supposed skill level, and a lot of pro artists pointed that out before people noticed the green color being missing from her color wheel. Chokopiia or Asami didn't invent these methods to trick people. There's been artists in the past, way before Gen AI existed, that have been caught tracing and lying with similar tactics. After all, Gen AI didn't create tracers or fraud, but it is an extremely easy avenue to exploit for tracing and scamming. I know some people might be thinking that by sharing these methods, I'm giving other tracers ideas and that they will use them to fake their own videos too, but I believe it's important to share exactly how these methods work and how to spot them, as I expect traced art accounts to become extremely common in the upcoming years. They are already fairly common and spreading on platforms like VGen. There are multiple ways to know if someone's using AR to trace, so it's not an infallible method. So yeah, more than ever, trusting an artist is really hard, because even if they show you themselves drawing on paper or on a tablet, recording themselves from another angle, they might still be legitimately fooling you. This is why what happened with Asami was so crazy. The fact that someone would go as far as chroma keying an entire color just to fake themselves being an artist, and here, like with the AR tracing, it's insane. But don't worry, it doesn't mean that you can't trust any artist on the planet. You just have to look out for the red flags mentioned here and in part 2 of the document. And speaking of red flags, this leads us to the next section titled Glorpy Miku Situation and Chokopiia's toxic behavior behind the scenes. A month before the February timelapse, where she AR traced, on January 27, 2025, Chokopiia posted a fan art of Glorpy Miku. Glorpy Miku is a fan-made Hatsune Miku design made by artist Diariku. As the tweet got popular with over 600,000 views and 30,000 likes, people once more started noticing there was something off with Chokopiia's art. So here we can see at least 3 different hidden replies of people that were blocked, replying to Chokopiia's post saying, yeah, this definitely looks like AI, why is it so similar to AI style, etc, etc. The initial person who came up with the Glorpy Miku design was made aware of these AI allegations that Chokopiia was pretty much just plagiarizing with AI. Here we can see an exchange that happened in the replies of that post between Chokopiia and Diariku. Unfortunately though, Diariku's replies have been deleted, but they were pretty much confronting Chokopiia, and what Choco had to say was,
"Hi, handsome. Thank you for coming. Hope you're doing well." Just reacting to this absolute pathetic, worthless waste of space that the parents should have swallowed or dropped into a sock. But I hope you're doing well. Yzma, stop it!
I have provided you with a stage of work and a clean line of this work. I'm really tired of trying to prove something to people forever. I understand your concerns, but please understand me too. I have been bullied for that some time on the social network where I started posting my work. I've already provided all the proofs, including speed paints, but nothing has changed. It comes to the point that they are looking for my address. I was already tired of living trying to prove something because it's useless, and I switched to Twitter in the hope that at least I'm safe here. To which Teru would say in the document, while Chokopiia was pretending to be a victim on Twitter, she and her friends were making fun of Riku and the situation on Telegram. In fact, the reply above wasn't written by Chokopiia, it was written and translated by her friend and fellow tracer, Maria, otherwise known as Nyan Yakwe. So here we can see an exchange between Maria and Chokopiia in their private Telegram channel. Teru points out that Maria is not only a part of this private Telegram group, but is also an admin. And here we see multiple screenshots showing us a conversation that's been of course translated between Maria and Chokopiia, in which they were talking about how to confront this. The fact that Diariku was calling her out. Maria
Thanks, handsome. Glad you could join us.
here is saying, the main thing is to be careful. I think it's a good idea to play the ultimate victim so that when you provide proof, you have a group of sympathizers. A poor artist who was unfairly accused. Can you say something about the hate? That you've been subjected to hate for a long time and people leaked your address online. Because of this, you switched to Twitter in an attempt to escape this bullying? Choco would reply saying, like, should I write this or what? And this is when Maria says, don't worry, I can. Chokopiia would call her a goddess. Maria would say, wait a second. And then 16 minutes later, she would write a response for Chokopiia. So what's really important to note here is that the exact words that Maria had sent in that group chat would end up being what Chokopiia would post on Twitter in response to Diariku. And that was the second reply, in which she said, "Please understand me, I have been bullied for some time. I was hoping to come to Twitter in order to avoid this bullying. I'm tired of proving myself, etc., etc." Terry would then say, but Choco wasn't done playing the victim on Twitter. And on February 16th, she would continue with the same playbook, saying, "To be honest, it's already hard for me to cope with the daily harassment. You copied my work, that's okay, but according to Instagram sources, you sold my work and also added your signature. I do not know why people spit on my soul and on my efforts. They sell my art, and in the end I'm left to blame and they accuse me of AI, but this person who stole my work doesn't care at all." So here she's referencing someone who had stolen her Glorp Miku art, which Teru says is AI, and was selling it. She would then continue this reply chain with a similar sounding multi-paragraph tweet, saying that she's tired of all the negativity, asking people to stop accusing her of things she didn't do.
Oh my god. Wah, 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 wah. You want to be a perpetual victim. Oh my god, you're a pick-me, White Lotus, incel, maidenless loser. I hope one day, especially after what you did to people just for commenting that you say AI and making other people aware, I hope one day you discover you're allergic to oxygen.
And lamenting that people are not leaving her alone. So why was she pushing this victim narrative so hard? Look, what real artists are terrified of is to accuse someone of AI without proof, because then it ends up becoming a witch hunt. Even if an experienced artist knows that there's a 99.99% chance that someone's using AI, that tiny 0.1% still scares the hell out of them. And now when you have this person right here, Chokopiia, saying, "Oh my god, like people are doxing me."
Listen. I'm not gonna sit here and lie and say that there aren't witch hunts that happen. To innocent artists like that one who did Mitsuru from a Mitsuru doodle from Demon Slayer, who was called AI when they did not do AI. I'm not gonna sit here and lie and say witch hunts don't happen. They do. It's awful and it's sad. And I wish they didn't happen. And I'm not gonna excuse that. I'm not. We shouldn't, I genuinely believe we shouldn't be accusing people unless we actually genuinely are confident and have analyzed it properly. Like, analyzed all of the evidence given properly. The fact that you want to play victim in this way, you are gross, manipulative, and pathetic. I hope Putin uses you as a spittoon.
My life is ruined. You don't want to be someone who adds fuel to that fire. You're like, you know what, dude, I'm just going to step away. None of my business. I just want to draw art and be left in peace. That was her strategy, and with Jericho, it worked. This was an experienced artist who knew that something was up. But these paragraphs of playing the victim,
pathetic is the word of the
day. Wanting to pursue this further. So this wasn't coincidental. This was all part of Chokopii's strategy. The document would then continue. Even after she deleted her tweets about Chokopiia, Chokopiia went ahead and decided to plagiarize a commission of Jericho's character drawn by Kuno MD, followed by a sarcastic telegram message about it. So as I said, Jericho didn't really want to bother with this. They deleted their tweets and moved on. So here Teru says that a little while later, Chokopiia would find an illustration of Jericho's character, the original character, drawn by Kuno MD. She would make a suspiciously similar art piece with the exact same pose and colors, and then post these two images together, right? So Kuno MD's original art and her art that looks similar in her telegram saying, "Chokopiia leak, she can't generate the image herself, she just copies poses and ideas from other artworks. Please call her out on it. When you overlay the images, 2 pixels match up." So this of course was meant to be a joke, right? She was making fun of people who were accusing her of stealing this image and running it through image to image, using AI. But the similarity between the two is pretty clear. The document would then say, after that, Chokopiia kept hiding any comments pointing out she was tracing AI on Twitter, and uploading more time-lapses, ignoring the fact that they're Procreate time-lapses. They did look just a bit convincing when compared to her previous ones. She would even add convincing details like an arrow to indicate the lighting direction for the shadows on the drawing itself. Unfortunately for Chokopiia, someone else had already seen the AI image she was tracing for this time-lapse, or potentially had run through image to image as she had done multiple times before. So Teru would have 2 drawings here. one drawn by Chokopiia in February 2025, and another one drawn by Peekaboo on May 2024. Teru would then overlay both drawings on top of each other and would find that the eyes are almost 1-to-1. A perfect match, making it unlikely to be a coincidence.
Literally
like
just turn off AI and watch them squirm.
Chokopiia had ran it through image to image. This would lead us to the next subsection, titled Traced AI Commissions as Chokopiia. Teru had to specify here, as Chokopiia, right? Because again, there's multiple alt accounts to look out for later. Chokopiia was successfully scamming people on Twitter while acting like a victim of AI harassment. Time lapses in her media tab, no AI in her bio. You can't blame clients for not knowing any better. But Chokopiia wasn't just selling commissions on Twitter, she was also doing Your Character Here auctions and selling adoptables on the side through her Toy House account. So just so you know, YCH means Your Character Here. So it's a pre-established pose and even outfit, and all they do is just insert the character you want in there. And adoptables are, well, a design that you adopt. So let's say you want to become a VTuber, you're looking for a concept, you can very easily find someone with an adoptable, an already pre-made design, and buy that. Then you can hire someone else to model it, rig it, etc. So with that in mind, the fact that she had YCH and adoptable commissions on Toy House, we get to the next subsection, which is ghosting clients. A few months before the Glorpy Miku situation, on November 15th, 2024, Chokopiia posted a YCH auction on Toy House. On November 16th, 2024, the winner paid $100 for the auction, and Chokopiia mentioned that it would take 2 to 3 months to finish. However, there was no further communication after that. So after 3 months of no responses, the client messaged Chokopiia on Twitter. Chokopiia's excuse was that she had lost her Toy House account. So here we can see multiple images of that client messaging Chokopiia on Twitter, initially getting the response, oops, sorry, lost access to Toy House on February 2025, right? A few months after they had won. We can see this person trying to pursue Chokopiia up until July 26, 2025 in the DMs, and eventually in October 2025, they can be found in the replies to Chokopiia's post saying, this person ghosted me on a commission and now I'm out like 100 plus USD with zero communication. Chokopiia never answered.
I know, you can't generate... What do you mean ghosting a client? Like, you can't generate your stupid images and give it to them? God. See, you're just lazy. You can't even type in a prompt. You're a failure as an AI image generator person. How disappointing can your... How more, like... How... Asking ChatGPT for prompts. They probably do. Like, your life is already a huge disappointment. You just keep impressing people by how much more of a disappointment you can expose yourself to be. And it's hilarious.
To the client, and the client has yet to receive a refund. The case of another client she had ghosted after taking a $300 commission will be mentioned later, as it is tied to Chokopiia's sister Michi. The sister here is in quotations because it's alleged that Michi was just Chokopiia role-playing as her sister. Teru would then add, I was also told that Chokopiia also ghosted Telegram clients during 20...
Oh my god, we need to bring back you guys heard the joke? We need to bring back old school bullying where people get like... You can tell this kid who, like Chokopiia, you can tell they never got their ass beat with a belt or a switch or the chancla or the spoon, and you can tell they need to.
24 and never refunded them. This is what leads us to the next section, titled quote-unquote retirement from art. On July 27, 2025, Chokopiia posted the following statement on her Telegram, saying, I don't have anything to post, and I don't feel like drawing anymore, so I want to retire as an artist. Thanks to everyone. For those who are interested, I plan to make my debut in 2026 as a VTuber, and then would thank her community again. This is what brings us to the next section, alt accounts timeline. After that Telegram statement, Chokopiia stopped posting on her Twitter and Telegram accounts. Her last upload on Twitter was on June 28, 2025. During this time, she moved on to her other accounts, Michi, Mashiro, Lavarial, and Kira Uep. If you need a refresher on how those accounts are all tied together, go back here. Again, so well formatted. I mean, if you click on this brings you back to Chokopiia's multiple accounts with the different signatures. I could talk for hours about why I love this document so much, but anyway, back to where we were. So here we can see a massive timeline, right? Like as if you were an investigator trying to pursue a mass murder or something, spanning like almost a page and a half, going as far back as November 2021, in which the account Levadiol was created on Twitter, and how from 2024 to 2026, multiple accounts would be created and would have varying degrees of activity. You can pause the video if you want to take a look at it for yourself. I mean, it really is very nicely made, but this document will go through every single one of these accounts individually in the upcoming sections anyway.
How can you retire when you never had a job? Absolutely. You've never worked a single day in your life. How can you retire?
Begin looking at each account individually, starting with Levadiol. On Levadiol's Patreon, Chokopiia does disclaim that the images are AI. I don't have a lot of screenshots of her activity or commissions on Twitter with this account, as it was suddenly suspended sometime during September 2025. As of March 2026, she still actively updates the Levadiol Patreon and Pixiv accounts. Levadiol's original uploads had a different AI style than the one she is currently generating. So here we can see the original illustrations that were used on Levadiol's Patreon initially. There are 4 different examples. Of course, these are anime girls in different poses, maybe wearing bikinis, maybe wearing revealing clothing. And then we'd see an entirely different art style that's being posted today. Teru would say the current images generated for Patreon/Pixiv are using the style of Japanese artist Bunshi. This is when they'd explain what a LoRa is, which is a low-rank adaptation. This is something that we've also seen in my previous AI Tracer videos. It's essentially just you taking an artist's entire illustration portfolio, running it through AI, and having AI remake images using that same exact art style. Teru on the left shows an example of a Bunshi original drawing, and on the right we can see an AI generated one. You can barely tell the difference. You'd think that it was Bunshi that drew this.
Yeah,
it's uncanny.
sad. It's very
Teru would
sad.
then say, although Pixiv requires users to tag AI generated content, none of Levadiol's content is properly tagged. And uploaded content is also marked as original despite them not being original characters. Levadiol's Patreon avatar and image used for her collections is art from Twitter user Wanla8, most definitely being used without permission. Chokopiia also uses one of her alts, UIIJ.
Oh my god, what is there was some freaking weirdo I heard about the other day. He was a piece of shit, so I don't feel sorry about it. I don't remember the name, but he had no friends because he is such a piece of shit. So he commissioned an artist to make a friend for his self-insert OC, and I was like, oh my god. Pathetic, low-life garbage never ceased to amaze me.
9p to promote Levadiol's Patreon. So here we can see that alt account UIIJ9p making a post with a drawing of that same stolen art style from Bunshi saying extras elsewhere with text on the image saying Patreon Levadiol. So these accounts are connected. What's even more interesting too is that Levadiol on Patreon follows Michi, Mashiro, and Kira Uip. Teru says Choco loves following herself everywhere. And speaking of following herself with her alts, here's the next one, Kira Uip. Kira was also generating AI content with Bunshi style, but Chokopiia wiped their media tab at one point during 2025. As of 2026, the Pixiv of Kira Uip has been abandoned. The last upload was on July 30th, 2025. So again, we can see that same art style being used here before they were wiped out, very similar to the art style that was being posted by UIIJ9p as well as Levadiol. And this is what brings us to a pretty unhinged section. Michi, the sister. This is Michi, an artist who first introduced herself on Telegram during April 1st, 2025. Let's begin by addressing Michi's statement that she's 15 years old. Teru says in parentheses she's not, don't worry. As the Telegram post that had this information was edited on June 16th, 2025 to remove it, this is what it used to look like. And it pretty much said, I am 15 years old, my birthday's on March 8th, I use an iPad Air 2022. And to confirm that this was edited, Teru would also link the telemeter.io post, which shows the original.
Not even worthy of a goth mommy ruining your life. She doesn't even want to deal with you. That's how worthless you are.
She does indeed say that she is 15 years old. This is disturbing for so many reasons. You're about to find out why. Actually, you can see it right here. Michi had two different accounts. Meech111, where she posted SFW drawings, and Michi20, where she posted 18 plus NSFW drawings. This was someone role-playing as being 15. But Teru's going to mention that later in the document, of course. Anyway, Michi did not immediately mention being Chokopai's sister, but after she uploaded a couple artworks, Russian artists started noticing the similarities between her and Chokopai's art, amongst other things. So only after a few days after her introduction post, she made the following statement. So Michi would say, I saw these stupid accusations. If anyone didn't know, Chokopai is my older sister. Maybe that's why our styles might be a little similar. Because I've been inspired by her since I was a kid. So people, no negativity. I love everyone. There'll be a full post tonight. Heart emoji. This will be done on April 9th, 2025. Barely 8 days after introducing herself for the first time. On the next page, we'd see Michi's current Telegram avatar and previous Twitter avatars are AI generated. We would see these images more clearly. And of course, Teru points out, 15-year-old with NSFW Patreon. Even though she edited her Telegram post to remove her age, she would still post on Twitter that she was 15 years old. Despite supposedly being underage, Michi has an NSFW Patreon. Patreon requires face and ID verification for NSFW accounts. I assume people on Twitter noticed this and reported it to Patreon because Michi's original Patreon account got suspended at one point last year and she had to make a new one. So here we can see that even on Michi's account, she was charging $7.5 a month for exclusive artworks, speed paints, PSD files, etc., continuing the same formula she's been using since the beginning. Teru would then say, and while Michi would keep mentioning that Chokopai was her older sister, Chokopai never really made any comments suggesting that Michi was her little sister. So here we can see two different replies from Michi saying, it's okay, I'm pleased to be compared to my sister, I look up to her, don't be ridiculous, this is my older sister. But then we can see Michi commenting on a post by Chokopai saying cute, and then Chokopai would just say, thank you. You know, no mention of her being her little sister, no like, oh my god, thanks sis, none of that, just TY. Anyway, the document would continue. Michi's username seemed kind of familiar to me, until I realized there was another artist with a similar name on Twitter, Miyuchik. At first, we didn't know if this was yet another Chokopai alt, as the style was not similar, but the artist was also Russian. I decided to reach out to the artist to see if this was a coincidence. So on September 2025, Teru would reach out, and the artist would say, hello, no, I've known about her for a long time, she just copied my username, lol, sad face. I don't know what I can do with this. So as you can see, Teru has had their eye on Chokopai for a long time, since September 2025. The document would then say, with that knowledge in mind, you can take a look back at their Twitter bios and notice the similarities. And here we can see some interesting patterns. Miyuchik would have 2 star
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
emojis next to their name. Michi would do the same exact thing. And even the way that Miyuchik had like their bio structured, the way they would say Illustrator, how they'd have comms as their Twitter location pointing towards their card website. Michi would do the exact same thing. It was a Control-C, Control-V situation. Teru would then say other Russian artists on Telegram once more noticed the similarities. This is how one of them recalls it. As far as I know, she's also around blank years old. When people started actively talking about AI use among artists, she came under fire too because of blank. Basically, when Chokopai and some other artists ended up on a list of suspected Russian AI users, Chokopai started trying to befriend some of them, bonding over a shared problem, so to speak. I'm 100% sure that because of the situation, Chokopai was heavily inspired by Miyuchik's story, her age, her username, and everything else. And speaking of this inspiration, right, this will lead us to the next subsection titled Plagiarizing Artists 2. On April 2nd, 2025, Michi posted a Narissa fan art on Twitter. Narissa, of course, is a very well-known VTuber under Hololive. For this section, remember that as I had mentioned earlier, you can plagiarize any image online with image to image. People noticed that this image resembled another Narissa artwork uploaded by another artist back in March 2025, so a month earlier. On April 17, 2025, Michi made the following statement on her Telegram channel. So what would happen was the tag AI would be added to that post she made of that fan art. And so then, of course, she would complain in her Telegram channel, saying, sorry for the rant, but I'm really upset right now. I buy ads from people, but they end early because people come and complain that I'm supposedly cheating with AI, even though there's no proof. Please leave me alone. So it would again be structured very similarly to the post that Chokopai used to make whenever she got in trouble for AI. Under this, we can see an image of the original, drawn by the artist N. Hayes. They look very similar, just inverted, right? Instead of her looking to the left, she's looking to the right. And Teru would, of course, put them on top of each other, right? In GIF format, you could see them kind of overlaid, and it looks suspiciously similar, right? Even the eyes kind of overlap. Teru would say, while the canvas dimensions are different, the composition looked very similar to an artwork that N. Hayes had uploaded a month before. Because Michi/Chokopiia has a history of plagiarizing works with image to image, I've yet to show every single example to keep the document as streamlined as possible. I don't believe this was a coincidence. And to show how Chokopiia usually gaslights people, pretends to be a victim, and twists the truth, here's her October 2025 post about the situation. So here we can see a post made by Michi, saying, in addition, there were many accusations of plagiarism of the Narissa drawing, the same pose and clothing. Yes, I have acknowledged this, and I was wrong and feel extremely ashamed about it. I was truly inspired by this art and wanted to draw something similar, and I deeply regret this action. I've already apologized to the artist in person, and I even have a screenshot of the apology. Please stop constantly bringing up the situation, as I've already acknowledged and learned from my mistake. It won't happen again. So in this post, we can see a screenshot of her messaging Enhaze, right? The artist that was copied. In it, we don't see a response from Enhaze, and the other image would show, Enhaze has blocked you. Tara would say, as far as I know, she never acknowledged it on Twitter before, and the screenshots she attached were meant to paint herself as a victim again. The first screenshot is a DM that never got answered, followed by a screenshot of Enhaze blocking her, implying that Enhaze had ignored her after she reached out. Except that Michi/Chokopiia
this reminds me of that one SpongeBob clip where he's like had a metaphor and says loser, loser, loser.
admitted the fact that Enhaze had contacted her first, but she deleted Enhaze's message before taking the screenshot. So here we can see a comparison of Michi's screenshot with Enhaze's actual DMs, in which we can see Enhaze saying, "Hello, it has come to my attention that one of your Narissa drawings is very anatomically similar to one of mine from some times ago, and I thought I'd reach out for clarification. Were you referencing my art?" To which we can see Michi saying, "I'm sorry I didn't answer you, but I don't want to cause a scandal. My body is too weak for that. Please forgive me again, I was wrong. I was inspired by your work, but I drew it myself and I don't..."
Wow, I'm such a victim. I'm so innocent. I didn't hurt anybody. Everyone's being so mean to me. I don't know why. God, that baby. Your parents really should have kicked your ass. Correction, they should have properly disciplined you so you know that this behavior is unacceptable.
Use artificial intelligence. Please delete the posts with me. I can't see the negativity from different people in my direction. So this is definitely interesting, right? I might even say it's crazy, trying to paint Enhaze as someone who's unreasonable when they had reached out first. Very interesting, and we're not even halfway through the document. And so we'd find ourselves in the next subsection titled AI Laura Chandayu 1. While Michi's traced work fluctuates in anatomy/style slightly, the only semblance of consistency is in the eyes, and even then they aren't always similar. Her works resemble artist Chandayi's style the most. So here we can see that artist's original style on the left, with Michi's drawings on the right. Again, same with the previous examples of trying to emulate other artists' styles. If you told me that all four of these images were drawn by Chandayu, I would very easily believe you. They're just that similar. On the bottom left, we see someone replying to one of the posts of Michi copying Chandayu's style, saying, "I really love your art style. It reminds me of Chandayu's style a bit. Cool art." To which Michi would say, "Yes, I'm inspired by her style. Thank you." Teru would then say, while pointing with the left arrow towards the image of those tweets, "There is a chance that it's just another generic AI output being traced, and Chandayu's signature style choices are just added on top of the traced image." But it's confirmed, as Michi mentioned being inspired by Chandayu in the past. Clearly, there is nothing wrong with being inspired by another artist, unless that inspiration means plagiarizing their work. This is when we would reach the next subsection, Trace Time-Lapses 4, Michi Edition. During early 2025, some people noticed typical AI tracer red flags on Michi's account. And so again, here we'd be revisiting some red flags we already saw before, like a new account with no past online art records but skilled level art, and AI tracing elements like looping hair, wonky hands, poor line work, and fluctuating anatomy proportions between images. So pretty much inconsistency with weirdness. Just like her previous persona, the pattern that followed was the same. On April 18, 2025, weeks after the Enhaze incident, Michi posted a time-lapse to prove that she was not tracing. The first thing to point out is always the art program. In this case, this is a 30-second clip of Clip Studio Paint time-lapse. Unlike Procreate, recording a trace time-lapse isn't as straightforward with CSP because it doesn't have hidden layers. However, there is a way to hide a layer from showing in the time-lapse. You are limited to binary line work, but it's still possible. Personally, I don't think Chokopiia/Michi is using that method here. There is yet another method that would let you forge the program itself, but besides those two methods, I'm more likely to believe that she is using AR to trace here and then color picking from another canvas open within CSP. For my personal analysis, it is not the sketching that's suspicious in this case, but rather the way some hair streaks have no coherence when they are lined. And the precision in the line work itself, the anatomy accuracy without edits from an artist who has no past art history. Combine that with all the previous red flag elements in other artworks, like looping hair, wonky hand, poor line work compared to anatomy, etc., and this time-lapse doesn't really prove anything. However, if this same time-lapse had been uploaded by someone without AI tracing red flags in their other art, or someone with a long history of online art uploads and consistency, then it would be less likely to suspect that it's traced. So see, this is dangerous, right? Like, imagine if someone had been drawing legit with a high skill level for like 5 years, 10 years, before AI had even come out, and now uses AI. You would have no way of proving it whatsoever. We're lucky here that Michi or Chokopiia is a brand new account. That's an easy red flag, but what if it was someone who's been drawing for like a decade? That's where it gets very, very tricky. Terry would then say, since there was now a time lapse as a shield for any future
I can't believe it. There's a new tech to lie. Oh my god. Oh, there's always a new tech to lie. Jesus. Dude, get a life. Do something. Don't waste. God, why are you such a waste of oxygen? Your existence helps nobody and nobody wants you around. You are a disappointment to your bloodline.
Michi would go on and continue telling people that she wasn't using AI or tracing. Only 6 months after she had uploaded her first artwork, had been shadow banned for uploading suggestive artworks. While it's frustrating to get shadow banned and not indicative of anything in itself, tracers usually worry a little too much about being shadow banned when their art account is brand new. Here we can see a tweet by Michi on her NSFW account saying, "Help me please, I'm in complete despair. All my works fall under a shadow ban." And interestingly enough, we see a reply by Mei-chan saying, "Same, this is just awful." This is someone that we'll see later on in this document. Tara would then continue, "What permanently disabled probably means here is that her account was marked as 18 plus, so it's not visible to people when they are logged out. For AI scammers, getting a constant stream of views to get commissions is more important than their follower count. So
dude, there are people out there hustling, making money through genuine efforts. There are people building families. There are people getting married. There are people starting a new chapter in their lives and bettering society. And you decide to cry and whine and be a baby back bitch on Twitter. Your bloodline should end with you.
They rarely get attached to their accounts and just make new ones if they get shadow banned. Plus, the Twitter algorithm currently favors new or smaller accounts when it comes to reach/views. So on August 21st, 2025, Michi would move from her NSFW account to Meech111 while keeping her old account to RT the images she would upload on her new account. And so, with this new account made, it would bring us to the next major section titled Charging $700 for Traced Commissions. As of early April 2026, sometime during April 1st to 10th, Michi's card with her commission information was deleted. Not a problem, I figured that was going to happen eventually, so here is the archived version instead. Teru coming prepared no matter what, dude. It's crazy. Back in September 2025, she was charging $160 for a half body and $200 for a full body. But sometime between September 2025 and October 2025, her prices were raised from $160 to $500 for a half body artwork and from $200 to $700 for a full body artwork. What happened during a single month that would...
The condom company shut down because they couldn't face the mistake that became you. Bro, yes. Oh my god. Hi, Shiny Gengar. Nice to meet you. We are laughing at this pathetic waste of space. This is Mujin's new video. And it's about this person, Chokopiia. Yeah, you should be proud of that one, Isma. Frame that, make it a senior quote. Get it tattooed. Temporary tattoo, but like, oh my god, this person is literally, oh my god, so pathetic.
Michi raised her prices by over 200%. My only guess is that during October, her post started getting so many likes and views that it emboldened her to raise her prices. Why trace 4 artworks for $200 when you can trace one for $700? I'm not sure if anyone paid $700, as she never mentions the client's usernames when she posts commissions. These commissions posted afterwards could have been paid for before the prices were increased. This is what would make Teru point out another red flag to look out
Hi,
for.
zombie. Welcome. We're laughing at this pathetic loser, Chokopiia in a Mujin video. So, yeah.
Tracers. Tracers will usually fluctuate commission prices, basically doing dynamic pricing based on how much attention their most recent posts are getting. We can almost make a distinction here. Michi increased the prices in October 2025, and it just so happens that during that month, she would get a post that would reach over 1 million views and 60,000 likes. So, more views equals higher price.
Even
Just so
Steven
you're
can't
aware,
change
typically
you.
the most popular artists on the platform don't really do this. They might increase commission prices based on demand for commission specifically, but not really based on how their art is performing on Twitter. So this definitely isn't the norm. And so the document continues. As we were around the September 2025 mark and things became interconnected during October 2025, I will stop talking about Michi for a second and focus
Folk Valley? No, I've never heard of that. What's it about?
on Mashiro before returning to Michi. So yes, here's yet another alt account made by Chokopiia by the name of Mashiro. Mashiro joined Twitter during April 2025, but their first upload was in June 2025. Looking back at the timeline, this is around the time Chokopiia stopped uploading art on Twitter and made her retirement post. Michi was also very active during April 2025, as well as Kira, Uip, and Levadiol accounts. Generating and tracing AI is quick and easy, so I can see how it wouldn't be that time consuming for her to run multiple accounts. Mashiro's first posts were all traced before they moved to posting fully generated AI, as this account was the catalyst for this document. This is when Teru would mention red flags to look out for again. This time showing 5, the first one being a brand new account on Twitter. 2, Googling Mashiro or the username itself, so Mashiro_www does not lead to any existing artist profiles or old art. 3, this is someone who knows art very, very well, but has no history online, right? As if they just spawned. 4, they have advanced anatomy knowledge, but their line work is sloppy and rendering skills are very basic. And then 5,
Dude, there's so many old accounts. Like, how do they even remember any of them? Well, if all you're good at is being a pathetic, whiny bitch loser, I guess you get to a professional level if that's all you are and all you do.
the art posted only consists of characters wearing skimpy clothes, bunny outfits, swimsuits, etc. Characters are never drawn in their official outfits. And honestly, if I had to add a 6th red flag to look out for myself, I'd say every single drawing is fan art of something, whether it's a VTuber, an anime character,
Thank
a
you,
game
Yzma.
character, trying their best to take advantage of a very passionate fandom. Teru would then say after August 2025, Mashiro would stop uploading traced AI and instead start uploading full gen AI with minor edits on top. This was evident as the newer artworks had a completely more advanced rendering compared to Mashiro's earlier uploads, and more importantly showed multiple melting AI elements when zoomed in. Also during this period, Mashiro would start taking commissions. Full body $253, knee up $127, head $90, skeb like sketch $40. As they had begun uploading more AI instead of just traced images, it became more obvious that this was a fraud account. People noticed very quickly. But as it happens every time, Mashiro actively hid any comments mentioning AI, blocked people, and just continued to upload, never acknowledging any of the allegations. And here we can see 6 different examples, I'm sure there's more, of replies mentioning AI, getting hidden, and blocked. Because when you hide replies on Twitter, you automatically block the user too, unless you go out of your way to not do so. Let's take a look at the 2 images that got these AI comments that were hidden and blocked. So for the first image, Teru says this is the kind of image where there's absolutely no doubt that it's AI generated. And here they would provide zoomed in examples of the original drawing. I mean, my god.
Dude, God, why can't you actually do something with your life? Why can't you, I don't know, start a flower garden? Like, God. Like, even if you don't have a green thumb or whatever, like, are you are you truly that pathetic? Like, you are so lazy and listless that you won't even bother trying. Okay. Whatever.
Look at this formatting for a second. We have to appreciate this like you appreciate a pretty view off the balcony or something. Wow. Merging hair, strings, missing parts, cricket fingers, melted AI artifacts. Blocking and hiding replies is pretty effective, especially when no one else is talking about it. They would continue to farm commissions under Mashiro's persona while taking commissions on her Michi account at the same time. Chokopiia had learned that it's better just shut up and ignore people instead of trying to prove anything, or so it seemed. On September 26th,
Exactly. You have absolutely nothing better to do with your life. You can't go out, get a job, a real job, not just generating images from AI. You know, I respect, like, they can go out with their imaginary friend, okay? Because that's all I got.
2025, artist Yoclash noticed that Mashiro was taking commissions and would point out that their work was AI. Yoclash's tweet below is a quote retweet of Mashiro's tweet on the left. This is the image that we just saw that had zoomed in elements where Teru was saying it's very obvious that it's AI. But just 3 days before that post, another artist on Twitter had tried to alert people about what was happening as well. While this post alerted some people, it didn't gather enough traction to get a response from Mashiro. It was only after Yoclash's tweet, and I assume under the pressure, that Mashiro finally replied to people, but the red flags just piled up. You see, tracers tend to come up with ridiculous excuses. So here we see even more red flags. The first one being charging 20% of the commission price if you wanted a time-lapse recorded for the commission. So imagine an artist is charging $100 for a commission, you ask to see a time-lapse to make sure that it's real, and they tell you, oh, actually, if you want a time-lapse, instead of paying $100, you have to pay $120. That's crazy. The second red flag is claiming that publishing time-lapses would be unfair for people who pay for their Patreon, because the Patreon has time-lapses. That's a really weird excuse, obviously. It doesn't make any sense. And the third red flag is, when pressure builds up, they finally decide to share a time-lapse, but within a long time frame. So see, after Mashiro got called out, someone would say, can you upload a video so that we can see the process and know that we're not being scammed by Gen AI? And
Of course it has to be after a while. How else are they gonna have the time to properly edit to hide everything?
Mashiro would say, I'll do it within a week. You typically don't need a week if you're legit, right? It's just as simple as
Their parents probably don't even talk to them because they're so ashamed that this person, Chokopiia, is what came out of them. Probably don't talk to them, they just want to pretend they don't exist.
turning on the camera and drawing anything just to show how your workflow goes and that you're not tracing. So when the accusations piled up, Mashiro said that they would record a time-lapse and post it only if the people saying their work was AI ended up apologizing, specifically mentioning Yoclash. Knowing Chokopii's past on Telegram and seeing how she had forced people to apologize to her while making fun of them in private, this isn't surprising in the slightest. This was the exact moment when I found out about Mashiro, which led me to Michi, Chokopiia, and her circle of Russian tracers. But before getting into that, let's continue talking about Mashiro. As I've already elaborated on the red flags at the start of the section, to me there was no doubt this was a scammer. Even if they had never uploaded Gen AI full of melting elements and nonsensical hair and just continued tracing instead, the other red flags were very evident. And while I could 100% confirm they were tracing, the time-lapse is usually what wraps it up. On September 17, 2025, one day after seeing Yoclash's post, I made a post about Mashiro because I had noticed I had mutuals following their account. And just as expected, within an hour, Mashiro untagged themselves from my post and I was blocked. On September 20th, 2025, 3 days later,
Dude, you're a loser. And no one wants anything to do with you because you won't acknowledge that you're such a pathetic loser. Like, dude. You know what? You know what? It's understandable why you have no friends. No one would ever want to be caught dead with you. Ever. They'd rather be caught with a fish. You know what? If they got caught with their privates in a dead fish, I feel like they would have more pride in explaining themselves than explaining how they're friends with you.
Mashiro would finally post the highly requested time-lapse of their work, but with comments turned off. This is a Procreate time-lapse, and you can tell by the fading effect at the start of the recording, I have to repeat this every time. Procreate has a function that lets you hide layers from the time-lapse recording, making it very easy to trace. And this is Chokopiia we're still talking about, who after trial and error found out what makes time-lapses look quote-unquote genuine. Here, there are 2 sketch drafts before she draws the actual image. Time-lapses tend to fool non-artists easily. If someone who has never seen time-lapses, art live streams, or art workflows sees the time-lapse on the right, nothing would really stand out as unusual, even when the hair looks like this in the final image. So on the right, we can see the time-lapse. In it, Mashiro would initially draw a sketch, completely scrap it, and then draw another one with a completely different pose. In the final image, Teru would point out that the hair is looping. It just looks weird, something that AI would do. The document continues, and Mashiro's excuse as to why their other art has strange elements when zoomed in, they use an upscaling site for their art, and they never noticed before because the art looked quote-unquote visually pleasing. While it's true that AI upscaling will generate artifacts, this tend to happen
to this person in their case, I don't think that the AI made them a garbage person. I think they were always just a garbage person, and this was their decision on how to let it out. There was their internal excuse of why they can be a garbage person. It's a pathetic loser excuse that explains why you're so maidenless and no one wants to waste their time with you.
Extensively when the image being upscaled is small or blurry. I know that this is just a ridiculous lie, but for the sake of evidence, let's find out what upscaling site Mashiro is using that apparently generates these strange artifacts. And so here we can see DMs between Mashiro and someone else, where that person asked them, hey, what upscaling site do you use? And Mashiro sent airbrush.com. On the right, we can see a tweet made by Mashiro explaining that, hey, the reason why my artworks look strange when zoomed in is because of 16K image upscaling. This brings us to the next subsection titled AI upscaling. Mashiro is claiming that the melted elements in their artwork are because they upscale their art. They say they use airbrush.com's image enhancer to upscale it, so in theory, we could recreate the image on the screenshot, right? So here we see 3 different comparisons. The first one being the traced image, the second one that was upscaled by Mashiro with very weird artifacts, and the third one is real upscaled by Teru. And we can see that traced and real upscaled look similar. There's no weird artifacts, so to speak, at least not ones that are as crazy as the upscaled one in the middle that was used by Mashiro. I mean, even the pupil itself, right? Even the pupil looks weird in the one that Mashiro was using. It doesn't even look like a proper
Mean Girl podcast. I mean, I don't particularly enjoy always, just being a mean girl. I just like being mean to people that are mean. It's the customer service in me.
circle. Mashiro is not the only one who has tried to lie about upscaling technology, adding artifacts to their art. I recall another instance where someone painted over an AI image and claimed it was due to AI upscaling tools, and more recently, another generic AI gen account lying about their uploads being drawn by them and that the artifacts were, once more, a product of AI upscaling. After posting the time-lapse and having blocked everyone who mentioned AI, Mashiro would continue to post on their account as if nothing had happened and promoting their Patreon. Comments were turned off for a while on their newer uploads, so no one would be able to bring up AI or tracing. So here we can see 2 different examples of AI tracers saying, oh yeah, the artifacts are there because of AI upscaling, and in the middle of the page we can see the many artworks that Mashiro would continue to upload even after their time-lapse. This would lead us to the next subsection titled AI Tracer Commissions on Twitter. Chokopiia was tracing commissions as Mashiro, and Michi had posted finished commissions, but did Mashiro ever get to scam someone? Unfortunately, the answer seems to be yes, but none of the commissions were ever uploaded publicly. I was able to acquire Mashiro's commission files below thanks to a contributor. So here we can see 4 different illustrations that were of course traced according to Teru, and they all seem to be half body. Mashiro was charging $320 for half bodies. So this is at least $1,200 alone based on commission files that Teru was able to acquire. That's a lot of money. The document would then continue, thus, the main reason for this document is not to cancel Chokopiia. Instead, I want to raise awareness about fraudsters like these, charging hundreds of dollars for traced slop. This is very common on Twitter at the moment. I will elaborate more at the end of the document, but to give you an idea, here are a few Russian accounts, Chokopiia's friends, running the same traced commission scam. So here we can see 3 different examples.
Exactly. $300 for some words, for just some words. And I'm not talking like actual like written work, just random jumbled words to create a picture, a PNG. I feel bad for the people scammed by them. It is sad. It is sad, it's disappointing, and I feel like it's important to be aware of how people will scam you. Sucks, but it is what it is. So it's important to be more educated and aware of how people will scam you.
Charging over $100 for at least a half body, doing the same thing according to Teru. A lot of these accounts have successfully scammed clients for the past year, and if they ever have people pointing out their work is traced from AI, it's easier to ignore and block them than to engage. Even if they delete their accounts, they can just make a new account later under a new identity and pretend to be a different artist. On the right, we can see two screenshots, for example. The first one being an artist, Misui, who Teru had already called out in the past and made a small document about, charging $200 for sketches, who then made a new account when they were called out by the name of Akwao, also charging $300 for a sketch. Teru would say, my personal suggestion is that from now on, clients avoid commissioning new artist accounts who can't provide a track record of their art online before 2024. Now yes, this is unfair for new artists, of course, but unfortunately these days you really have to be careful. When we're talking about commissions that cost hundreds of dollars, right, which is a lot.
That's how they, woman, big, hunk, bonkers, thick thighs, huge butt, in love with me. That's their RP prompt for ChatGPT, so that they have at least one genuine person who likes to interact with them. And you know what? Oh my god, I bet ChatGPT would break up with them. Like that one person who was dating ChatGPT and then they broke up. Yeah, absolutely. I think that. That's probably why they're so salty and they were mean to that innocent pregnant woman. They were jealous because because no one wants to interact with them. Like other people are getting laid and they're jealous. They're mad. They're angry.
Of money for many people, right? This might be multiple months of salaries. You can never be too careful. And this would lead us to the next section, Michi Part 2. Back to the whole 15-year-old sister. While all of that was happening over in Mashiro's account during September 2025, Michi did not upload any new artwork. It was also during September that
I love him. Yeah, even AI doesn't want him, and it's hilarious. Like, with someone so useless and pathetic and disappointing in life, all you can do really is laugh at them. Because they want to be talented. They want to be somebody. They want the attention. And this is the only way they know how to get it. And no one wants them. Boo-hoo. Dude, how literally they could chat. They probably asked like several AI bots to be their partner or something, and they get rejected. Like even what are those like RP bots that fall in love, they're supposed to be like in love, whatever. They don't even want them. No one wants them. No one. Gosh. Oh god. You need a life. You need to leave the house. You need to get off the internet. And you need to contribute to society. You waste of oxygen and taxpayer dollars. I'm sorry, Anon. I'm tired of role-playing being your goth mommy. Here's a link to help you search for a job. Here's the hotline for mental health. Help, you should call. Dude, even the mental health hotline probably can't help them. They just... with what's going on with them, I don't know if they are even trained to help them. Like...
Ariel's account was suspended. Some people brought up Michi when I posted about Mashiro. Here's someone in September 2025 saying, I'm not sure, but they followed Meech111 and their styles are very similar, and this is another new account. Teru would say, to be honest, I had personally seen the account before, and I had seen Chokopiia and Nyanyaku's accounts back in 2024 too. But back then, I thought it was clear that the images were traced and I figured it would be obvious for everyone else, so I just blocked them and moved on. I figured there was nothing I could do, especially because trying to argue with liars is extremely exhausting. Now I understand that these tracers thrive off people's indifference and lack of action. As long as no one says anything, they can quietly continue scamming. Besides slopperators without a single artistic bone in their body, there are now artists like Chokopiia, fully capable of drawing on their own, exploiting AI by making multiple accounts pretending to be different artists to make separate Patreon accounts. During September 2025, a few days after I had posted about Mashiro on my account, I received a DM from an acquaintance who helped with the Misui document. So as I mentioned before, this was another artist that Teru had called out and made a document about, an AI tracer. I decided to look into it. So the person that DM'd them would say, the account Mashiro that you called out is related to Michi, Mei-chan, Meech111, and Nyanyakwi. I'm pretty sure they are all AI accounts that all followed and retweeted each other from early on and used the same techniques. Some are the same people, some are different. Someone was DMing me about them. Teru would say, I decided to take a look into it. While at first it appeared to be someone just running multiple AI accounts, I ended up finding about Chokopii's records of bullying, harassment, doxing, and gaslighting. The receipts I was shown, some not published in this document, were mentally taxing and discouraged me a lot from writing about this issue. Someone else that had seen my Mashiro post on Twitter spread the word around Russian Telegram, and I started receiving emails from multiple artists who were too afraid to talk about Chokopiia publicly because she had their personal information and had threatened to dox them if they spoke against her. These emails ended up confirming the findings that me and my team
I feel bad. I genuinely feel bad for people that were victimized because this person was just so determined and jealous. Gosh. I feel bad. I genuinely feel bad, and I hope those people are okay. And when Chokopiia is on their deathbed, and they will see that not even the nursing home staff will be there to comfort them because of how much a garbage, pathetic life you've lived.
had gathered. Mashiro was Michi, Michi was Chokopiia, and it was very easy to deduce what other accounts were linked to her as they were all following each other on Twitter and had reposted each other multiple times on Telegram. We had all the information and screenshots, and it was just a matter of putting together a document. I ended up having to take a break due to unrelated health issues at the time. We were also waiting on some emails from other parties that had more information, and while promising at first, eventually we stopped receiving replies. These artists were afraid that they could be traced back by Chokopiia or her friends. In the end though, the info they were going to provide was related to controversial exchanges about Chokopii's past, lying and bullying, and not necessarily AI tracing. But then, on October 29th, 2025, Michi posted this on Twitter. They'd say, recently, many people on Twitter have started to hate on me and accuse me of using AI without any evidence, and it's really hurtful. So again, it would be the same playbook, right? It's hurtful, it hurts me, I work really hard on this. I can drop a PSD file and a video with layers on any of my art because I really have nothing to hide. In addition, I'm attaching a link to a Google Drive with at least a few speed paints of my work from Clip Studio app. I mean, overall, it was really the same excuses that were used on her other accounts, right? But this would be when they'd also mention that whole DM that they made to Enhaze, saying that they had messaged them and they didn't reply and then blocked them, right? This is when that happened in October 2025. Teru would say, I usually don't engage with tracers directly. Apologists will often side with the tracer, and NPC accounts will deflect by claiming that you are witch hunting regardless of how much evidence you present. But combined with my health situation at the time, a mix of stress, and multiple people emailing me about Chokopiia and asking for help, this post felt like the last straw that broke the camel's back, and I felt the uncontrollable urge to reply to Michi. This is when the following exchange happened, and so this would be the tweet that was made in October 2025, where Teru would quote tweet them, saying, showing layers means nothing when you are tracing AI. Posting a time-lapse.
And I feel genuinely bad for Teru, who had to sit through all this, and literally Teru had to sit through all this and deal with this, and I feel so bad. I genuinely feel bad, and I hope the health issues Teru is dealing with, I wish them a very swift and soon recovery, a great recovery. I genuinely hope that for them, because this sounds, I can only imagine what they saw when they were like digging into all this. I can only imagine what they saw, and I feel horrible. So I hope they take the time to rest for themselves.
better proof. Except you had tried that with your previous account, Chokopiia Art, and people didn't buy it back then either. In the documentary would say you don't want to tip off tracers because they will immediately start deleting evidence. But at this point, we had all the screenshots we needed. It was only a matter of organizing them in a doc, and archived all the sites, so Chokopiia deleting stuff wasn't an issue at all. And so this would lead us to the next subsection titled Real-Time Drawing with Magma. Michi had no idea about all the information we had, so I followed along and invited her to draw together on a Magma board. Magma is a website where you can draw in real time with other people. Unskilled tracers will absolutely never accept to participate in something like this. Yes, it is possible to...
Oh, what is Teru's gender? I actually don't. I thought she went by she, her, but if I'm wrong, feel free to correct me. I thought Teru was female. But if I'm wrong, correct me. I'll apologize and correct myself.
cheat in Magma the same way you could cheat with a time-lapse, but there are always workarounds and ways to know if the person is tracing. That's why most tracers will panic or become defensive when you bring up drawing together in real time. Teru here would give us multiple examples, 4 actually, with one being from Asami, right? Every one of them getting defensive when asked to draw live, saying things like, oh, I don't want to, this is all drama farming, I've already provided proof, the usual. Teru would say, but this is Chokopiia we're talking about. Someone who always seems to be one step ahead from people that point out she's using AI. By tracing with AR and learning how to make her time lapses appear very legit. Unfortunately for Chokopiia though, I've seen way more convincing tracer time lapses before. I had invited Michi and her sister Chokopiia, while fully aware that Michi as Chokopiia had done Magma sessions before. She did not know I had this information. Michi would use her best friend Nyanyakwi, so Maria, as a replacement for Chokopiia. That's because Michi and Chokopiia are the same person. Maria's trace style is very similar to Chokopiia after all. If it wasn't Maria, it would be another one of her tracer friends acting as Chokopiia. And finally, Michi was going to use AR or a similar technique to trace in Magma. So this was our DM exchange. Michi never replied back. So here we can see Teru DMing Michi saying, I'm free any day. I'm only doing this on the condition that you and Chokopiia will be present and that you will share your full screen capture. This is when Michi would say, excuse me, what do you mean by sharing a full screen? How do I do that? Like a video call? I don't know. Are we drawing just a sketch or a full render of the work? And who will we need to draw? Teru would say, a call showing your screen with a program like Discord, Google Meet, or TeamViewer, but it needs to capture your whole screen, not just the Magma website tab.
What? It is almost 1 a.m. Get some sleep, Yzma. Sleep is very important for your health. And I know I'm a hypocrite because I have god-awful insomnia, but please take care of your health.
Let me know that. Teru would say, a call showing your screen with a program like Discord, Google Meet, or TeamViewer, but it needs to capture your whole screen, not just the Magma website tab. Let me know the date and time, I'll be awake for it. Almost 2 weeks later, on November 11th, 2025, Teru would say, still waiting for a reply, and they would never get it. They'd get ghosted. I was expecting the Magma session to happen as Chokopiia had hosted multiple Magma sessions in the past after all, to prove she wasn't tracing while cheating in the Magma board anyway. Here we can see proof of that in her main Chokopiia Telegram group. I won't be disclosing the methodologies and tools that you can use to know and...
Hey, don't compare yourself to Chokopiia. Okay, Yzma? I'm sure you actually do things with your life other than doxing and harassing innocent people.
Someone is tracing in Magma. But I cannot stress enough that when someone wants to cheat, they will find a way to cheat. Time lapses, real videos, or even drawing in real time cannot be fully reliable when dealing with fraudsters. This is an issue as it erodes trust and credibility for everyone else. But just like how there's ways to cheat, there are equally enough ways to know when they are cheating. Going back to Michi's tweet, providing PSD files and showing layers really does nothing when the image is traced. The excuses that you usually hear when someone tries to pass off an AI-generated image as a hand-drawn are usually, I paint everything in one layer, or I already merged everything, or I lost the file, as these are situations that also happen to real artists. I don't think having files unavailable is strange unless it happens exclusively to images that look AI-generated, then painted over, and not ones that look traced. This brings us to the next subsection, Trace Timelapses 5. Now let's take a look at the timelapses Michi had uploaded to the Google Drive folder. So here we can see 3 different timelapses, 2 in Clip Studio and 1 in Procreate. These are sped up GIFs. Teru would say, different face structure, anatomy proportions, and line weight within only a few months. Essentially, these 3 look like they could have been drawn by 3 different artists. So more of the same of what we already saw. However, this leads us to something that was already mentioned, the fact that all these files were uploaded by Nympha Tian on Google Drive. This is Chokopiia's original art handle. While the Google Drive link that Michi provided had this name, there's another way to link these accounts. If you use the Wayback Machine to access Chokopiia's old card, you can see that the Pixiv button on the bottom right leads to Levadiol. After our DM exchange, Michi went quiet and would stop uploading new art on Twitter. This would be, of course, until January 2026. So more of the same. After their DM exchange, Michi would go quiet and would stop uploading new art on Twitter until January 2026. This would lead us to the next section titled Ghosting Clients Again.
This isn't a commission. This is just something to help build my portfolio for VGen and Ko-Fi. Yeah, just something to help build my portfolio while I also work on other commissions in the background.
This right here is really, really silly, dude, because it would really push the limits of this whole roleplay that Chokopiia had going on of her acting as her own sister under the Michi identity. Teru would say, on my quote retweet of Michi's post with a Google Drive link, VTuber Celia Vale left a comment mentioning that Chokopiia had scammed them in the past by never delivering a commission. And so here we can see Celia Vale saying, Chokopiia scammed me out of $300 and still has never responded to me about it. It seems that Celia had tried to contact Chokopiia multiple times in the past to no avail. From my QRT, they learned about Michi supposedly being Chokopiia, so this led to the following exchange. So here we can see Celia replying to Michi saying, please return my $300. It is shameful that you're—
Bro, you are so lonely and desperate and unprotected. Like, you have the time to be your fake family.
sister, or you, ran away with my money like that. Are you not ashamed to be a scammer or to be related to a scammer? You can't say that you look up to your sister while also saying you have nothing to do with her. Refund my $300. I can even ask someone from Russia to accept the money if you don't have PayPal. To which Michi's account would reply with, oh, I'm so sorry about that. She told me she'd contacted you, with a crying emoji. To which Celia would say, she didn't until today, and I did message your other account about how she still hadn't responded in September. And so next up in the document, we see multiple images of the DM exchanges that had initially put that VTuber in touch with Chokopiia. At first, Chokopiia was responsive when they were talking about the price and how much it would cost and which PayPal email to send it to. And of course, Chokopiia
Peak unemployment. Oh my god.
would say, hey, send it to this PayPal account, but also it's very important to make sure that this transfer is for friends and family, not for a merchant. This is
Okay, guys, I need you to know this. If you use PayPal for commission at any point, do not, and I repeat, do not, DO space NOT, ever do family and friends when you are paying for a service through PayPal, because you forfeit your right to have a refund if that person doesn't deliver. This is how you get scammed. That's a major sign that you would get scammed. Always, always, always use the business service one. Never use friends and family when you are paying for a service. And as an artist, I understand the concern of people also trying to scam artists after a artist Yzma, knock it off. People in turn also scamming artists by after an artist delivers the product, they charge a chargeback. However, in my personal opinion, that is not common. So always, always, always use business services, never family and friends. Okay? If someone insists you use family and friends, that is a red flag. Stop talking to them immediately. They are a scammer. They are very likely to be a scammer. Do not trust them. Do not move further with that interaction.
because when you send money to someone on PayPal as friends and family, you withdraw your right of refund. This is something you should never do when you're buying a service from someone. But the VTuber Celia fell for it because, well, they trusted Chokopiia. They were following their instructions. This would be on January 2025, and Chokopiia would then say after the payment had arrived that they would have all of February free just for this commission. However, at the end of January and beginning of February, Celia would send a total of 3 different follow-up messages. And Chokopiia would reply on February 11th, saying, hey, I saw that message, sorry, I've just posted a proof video to get people off my back, I'll get to your work soon. Celia would then again make 3 follow-up messages, and we would find ourselves in March. More specifically, March 4th. Chokopiia would finally reply saying, I'm sorry, I'll send you a sketch tomorrow. 10 days would pass by, and Chokopiia would say, hello, I'm sorry I've had problems in my life. I'm just starting to get in touch. Please wait for updates during this month or early next. On March 18th, they would send a very simple sketch, right? Barely any details, just an outfit mostly. After the sketch, a month would pass, no updates, no replies to any feedback that the VTuber had given. On April 9th, she'd say, "Hi, it's been a long time. Would it be possible to receive a refund?" On April 20th, "Hello, please see my above message." On April 21st, Chokopiia would finally reply again saying, "Hello, I was in the hospital. Now I'm home. Sorry for missing. Couldn't respond normally." To which Celia would say, "Hope you're feeling better. Can I get a refund, please?" Chokopiia would say, "I'm sorry, but can you wait 2 days? I'll draw everything."
Well, they can't do it right away because then it's gonna be super obvious, but no, I like, how are you so lazy that you won't generate an image? You're so lazy you won't even do your own scam. Are you kidding me?
Didn't think it would take so long, and then would proceed to ghost Celia. She'd still try to get in touch with her, right, up until May, and then would realize, oh yeah, she's not getting a single response. After this whole interaction with Michi, right, her sister, would happen on Twitter, Chokopiia would add Celia on Discord. But after adding her, she again would ghost her and wouldn't respond. So essentially a 6-month nightmare with $300 missing. Again, not a small amount of money. Tara would say, Chokopiia mentioned that she was at the hospital during April, and that's why she had not replied to Celia's DMs dating back to March 18th. But during that time, Chokopiia was actively posting on Michi's account. And here we can see there was a new drawing almost every few days. 15 in April alone. After hearing that Michi was Chokopii's sister, Celia decided to reach out to her to see if she could get in contact with Chokopiia. At this point, she didn't know Michi was Chokopiia. So after Michi had given Celia Chokopii's Discord, she would ghost her, and we can also see how in DMs with Chokopiia on Discord, Celia would be ghosted too up until September 2025. So this lasted almost 9 months. At this point, Celia was getting desperate. This was around the same time that Michi, on October 29th, 2025, had made her pity post saying, "Recently, many people on Twitter have started to hate on me and accuse me of using AI without any evidence. It's really hurtful." So Celia would quote tweet that, saying, "Please ask your sister to return my $300. She used the PayPal email blank. Does anyone else recognize it?" So here Tara would say, while pointing to this image with an arrow in the document, again, I cannot get over the formatting, Celia's quote retweet of Michi's October 29th post started getting a lot of attention, and someone reached out with information about the PayPal email she had sent money to. As PayPal is banned in Russia, artists often have to use middleman services to receive payments. The email didn't belong to Chokopiia, but a middleman on Telegram. Celia decided to contact them. It's not the middleman's job to make sure every commission is delivered, as they are only facilitating a service for the payment. Celia decided to reach out to the intermediary on Telegram, as this was probably the only way she could still get her money back. The middleman provided Celia with Chokopii's Telegram account so she could get in contact with her.
It's literally with Chokopiia and all their alt accounts. It's literally the Spider-Man meme where like 3 Spider-Mans are pointing at each other.
And at long last, Celia got a response from Chokopiia. So here, Chokopiia was very responsive. She'd say, "Listen, I'm going to get you your money on November 4th. Just please remove the post where you can see the PayPal email, as it's not mine, but the intermediaries, and you'll be compromising other artists. I will return the money to you." And lo and behold, she'd actually end up sending it way earlier than November 4th, saying, "I managed to send the money ahead of schedule, and I returned your money. Please delete the message where PayPal is visible, and as soon as possible, as the middleman is not at fault. And if you can, please delete your messages where you wrote to my sister Michi." So now that her way of making money was threatened, now that the email was out and about, she finally stopped ghosting Celia. And after almost a year of having $300 held hostage, she got that back. Tara would say Chokopiia agreed to return Celia's money on November 4th. Celia finally got her money back, but as of me writing this, the other client who got ghosted has not been able to get their money back. The refund was done ahead of time, not because Chokopiia was kind enough to expedite it, but rather because the middleman
Literally so lazy and pathetic. Dude, that's all I'm getting from this person. They're selfish, they're pathetic, they're entitled. Wah, 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 always me. My parents never loved me. I never had any friends. AI rejects me. And I can't even have imaginary friends because then they leave me too. And I'm not good at anything. I don't even bother trying to work hard to be good at anything because I'm so useless and worthless and unmotivated. And I won't even try. And I'm better than you. I'm better than everyone. And no one loves me. And my parents don't talk to me because they're ashamed of the fact that I came out of their reproductive organs. That's literally all I'm getting from this. It's ridiculous. Hi, Kruka. This person is so pathetic. That's literally all I'm getting from this video. I feel like we're just reiterating in detail of how they're such a freaking loser. And a freaking bitch baby. Oh my god.
Made an agreement with her and would be paid late instead. So in the end, it was the middleman's money that was used to refund Celia. And here we can see the middleman himself admitting this in DMs with Celia on Telegram. Despite all that happened, Chokopiia never really apologized to Celia, and instead, a week later on November 9th, 2025, she decided to post the commission sketch she had sent to Celia back in March 2025 on her private Telegram with the following caption.
Pathetic on a scale of 1 to 10, infinite. No, I'm gonna give it 586. Hi, Asuka. Hope you're doing well. We're trying to get through this freaking Mujin video, but this person is so pathetic and annoying that I just... Ugh, I don't...
Which translates to, as shitty as always, bro. After Michi's post and seeing how more people were becoming aware of her schemes, Chokopiia decided to abandon Michi and make another Twitter account instead. Although Chokopiia was supposedly retired and inactive while she was operating as Michi and Mashiro, she was secretly posting AI adoptables on Fur Affinity as Chokopiia around this time. So look, if you don't know what Fur Affinity is, I'm envious of you. If you do, God bless you. Point is, she had directed her efforts towards furries because I'm sure she understands that they have a lot of money to spend on things like adoptables and art. She'd be posting this Rat, I guess, on October 15th, 2025, using the Chokopiia account on Fur Affinity.
No.
This was her getting ready to make a full comeback because the next section is titled Chokopiia Returning from Retirement.
No.
Chokopiia's new account, Chokopiia with 2 zeros, was created during October 2025, probably after Michi's October 29th tweet.
Thank you so much. I'm doing just a banner for, because I'm not used to YouTube banner parameters, so this is just my practice in it.
But wouldn't become active until December 2025. On December 1st, she deleted her retirement post from Telegram. Just like when she made a new account for Michi, Chokopiia said her new account was made because her old one was blocked. So in other words, shadow banned because of NSFW drawings, right? A very handy excuse. The document would continue, my first and last interaction with Chokopiia was during October, under her disguise as Michi, when I was planning to draw in Magma with her. To no one's surprise, when I found out about her new account during December, I was already blocked. Turns out I wasn't the only person.
I'm Poma Pomari. It says Pomomi. Oh, that's awesome. I love checking out art for like YouTube banners because I don't understand the parameters, so I always see like super cool ones and I'm like, I want to work harder to make something amazing like that.
That was blocked in her new account. Multiple artists who had commented on Michi's tweet and people who had called her out before were also blocked in this new account. So she pretty much just pre-ordered their blocking. She was ready. This time around, I think Chokopiia finally realized that everyone's seen through all her tricks and lies, and ignoring people is way more effective. So instead she hides comments mentioning AI and blocks the accounts that sent the message. And on top of that, when an image is being quote retweeted, she can't hide comments, so she blocks the accounts and turns off comments in the artwork that is being quote retweeted. Take for example the
follow, sweet Jesus, that scared me. I'm
first
sorry.
Plagiarized, this time from the artist Seven Hayes, using the same technique, right? Going through image to image, same pose, same character, same outfit, but different art style. Comments were turned off under that artwork as another Russian artist, Kabacha, made a post warning people about Chokopiia's new account. Kabacha is one of the multiple Russian artists that have been aware of Chokopiia's schemes for a long time. As such, Chokopiia has made fun of her on multiple occasions in the past. More recently, this includes mocking Kabacha by making edits with her IRL face. This would of course be done on Chokopiia's Telegram account. After turning off comments, Chokopiia went quiet in her new account and wouldn't post again until 2 weeks later. On December 22nd, 2025, once again, this new artwork was plagiarized from another Russian artist, Ringeko-tan. Her artwork had only been posted a few days before Chokopiia. So here we can see on the left the original on December 19th, and on the right we can see Chokopiia's on December 22nd. So yeah, you know how this works by now, right? Image to image, different art style, same pose, same character, same outfit. According to Chokopiia, who posted this on her private Telegram account 1 hour after...
Dude, I've never, like, I can't remember passwords to save my life. I should make a meme one, because I used to have a meme account on Tumblr, but, like, dude, so much effort. How do you even remember this stuff? Like remembering the usernames and accounts and passwords, you freaking lonely, insignificant loser, so you have nothing better to do with your pathetic, worthless life.
Ringeko's post on Twitter, this was going to be a coincidence. So here you can see Chokopiia saying, I was so excited I thought I'd post some art today, then I saw Ringeko's art and I don't get why it looks so similar, even though this is the first time I've ever seen it. Are we living in the Matrix? I can already feel them dragging me into another plagiarism.
Precisely. If like, how do you not mix up the lore of each account? Exactly. How do you? So you have the brain power to remember your lore for each of your accounts, but not to be a piece of shit and a fucking bitch baby? Literally? that's okay, that's a choice.
Handle, but fuck that. Then she would say, fuck, Ringeko blocked me too. But months before, in March 2025, Chokopiia was blocked by Ringeko on her other account, and she had actually complained about it or at least made fun of it on her Telegram. So to Teru, this wasn't a coincidence, right? This was like a vendetta. If you blocked Chokopiia, she would take revenge later on you by plagiarizing your work. The document would then continue. Unlike her previous account, she has now moved on from Hololive/VTuber fan art to gacha games. It makes sense, as the VTuber space is filled with artists. They are more likely to point out that she's tracing AI. Still, Chokopiia has continued to plagiarize multiple artists in her new account up to this day, more brazenly than before. On February 22nd, 2026, yet another artist, Uof, made a post about Chokopiia plagiarizing their friend's artwork. Chokopiia turned off the comments on the artwork that Uof had QRT'd and blocked them. And just like any other time before, when someone points out what Chokopiia is doing, she and her friends just laugh about it in her private Telegram. On that same day, February 22nd, 2026, and in reference to Uof's quote tweet, she would say, write more documents exposing me, it turns me on. While hiding comments and blocking people is effective on Twitter, it's even easier to get away with being a tracer fraud on her Instagram, where comments can be entirely deleted instead of just hidden. Around this time, the Grok edit image feature was added to Twitter, so anyone could edit anything other people posted to the site without permission. Chokopiia, someone very familiar with plagiarizing and running other artists' work through image to image, would happen to find this feature very convenient. So just so there's no confusion, this is at the end of 2020.
Exactly. At this point, you are shit at hiding it, and you're a piece of shit. Just say that. Literally just say that. Just stop being a bitch baby, whining like you're the victim, and just say it with your full chest. People are gonna still think you're a worthless bitch baby that amounts to nothing in life. But just say that. Stop wasting our time. Just say that.
I read December 30th, more specifically, in which she says in her private Telegram group, there's a lot of whining on Twitter about the new feature. Get it through your head that AI rules the world. Here's some content for you. On February 22nd, 2026, she would also comment on this again, saying how ironic that these idiots are trying to assert their rights on a social network where AI controls literally everything, and Elon Musk lets the AI practice on their posts. So let them shut up and go to Blue Sky and write their documents there. Yeah, that's right, nobody needs them here. So yeah, Chokopiia seems to really like billionaires, whether it be Pavel Durov or Elon Musk. At this point, it's quite obvious the kind of man that she's into.
Dude. Oh, the things no matter how much you lick the toes of billionaires, they will only use you as a spittoon. Because that's all you're worth to them. So no matter how much you glaze them and meat ride them, they will never look at you. Are you trying to be a YN from fanfics? You trying to find your CEO? Please.
But if you were on Twitter when that feature actually got released, you would have seen the amount of artists that were absolutely shocked to the core that any of their art can just be twisted into a prompt with the click of a button by other users. And yet here we had Chokopiia celebrating it. Terry would then say, just like Chokopiia, a lot of the slop raiders running Patreon and Twitter accounts don't even bother typing their own prompts anymore and instead plagiarize other artists' works with image to image. So here we can see on the left another drawing that was made by Enhaze, someone that Chokopiia had plagiarized before, and on the right we can see another Twitter account by the name of Yuyumi SFW with the same exact pose, same exact character, same exact outfit, but of course ran through image to image under a different art style. Chokopiia's style in this account looks just a bit different from the one in her previous one. It is still stolen and trained from Croquette's art. However, a bot update now has a variation in the style output. So on the left, we can see 4 different illustrations made by Chokopii's AI usage, trying to copy the artist Coquette, and on the right, we can see an AI that was specifically trained from Coquette's art. And so what Tara's trying to say here is that while Chokopii's art does have similarities to Coquette's art, there's clearly some sort of a variation in the AI that makes it a tiny bit different. It's not one-to-one compared to the AI that was specifically trained to emulate that art style. The document will then continue. On a request from a doc collaborator, I've refrained from mentioning the bot name in this document. This is a Russian Telegram bot that a lot of Russian tracers use. The reason Russian tracers opt to use this bot is because it's more accessible than English AI generation sites that require payment and do not take Russian cards. The bot works with tokens that you could buy with a Russian card or earn for free by referring people to use the bot. So yeah, very handy. I'm guessing that most of these people don't really use this bot with a credit card, they use it by referring people and then they just create new accounts to refer themselves. That's just how a lot of Telegram bots work. And so this would lead us to the next subsection titled Selling Procreate Brushes. While Chokopiia has finally removed no AI from her bio, she is now trying to sell Procreate brushes as if the images had been made from scratch by her, when all she is doing here is using the filling tool, blurring the edges and adding sparkles. There is no rendering done in this time-lapse. And here we can see that time-lapse in question. There really is no drawing going on. No rendering either. This was Chokopiia just making it seem
Oh,
like her
absolutely.
brushes
They're
were
just gonna make a new account, pretend to be a new person, and blah blah blah. Because that's all these worms do.
making her achieve these exact results when in reality it was AI, obviously, or at least according to Teru. This is not the first case of an art scammer selling brushes. Famously, an artist that goes by Lanest sells digital art courses and has over 1,500 brushes for sale. Some brush packs cost up to $150, while her videos consist of her pretending to render on Procreate by a deceptive method of using the eraser tool on layers to reveal the AI render underneath. It's a big ol' industry, guys. And as AI gets more advanced, people will figure out more ways to scam and it'll get bigger and bigger. This would lead us to the next subsection titled Delusional Mental Behavior. On December 30th, 2025, Chokopiia posted this on her main art Telegram. This would be a 2025 artist summary template. The whole point of this is having 12 slots in which an artist shows off the drawing they're most proud of for each given month during the year. They'd also have a text post with it saying things like, there were highs, there were lows, there were moments where I wanted to give up. This year was hard, very hard, especially because of the huge wave of hate that fell on me after the accusations of AI and doxing, which I didn't commit. There were nights where I just sat and cried, hysterics, nervous breakdowns, etc., right? Like the same exact playbook used in previous posts, really just acting like the victim. Tara would say, to put it bluntly, reading this after having learned about—
Dude, I want AI to just... Yeah. Like, if I... Because I'm terrible at cooking. So, if AI just cooked me dinner, a healthy dinner, like, why can't we have that? Like, am I not allowed to want that? Dude.
everything she had done in the past, which I have not covered in this document as I tried to keep it specifically related to AI and tracing instead of what people typically think about when they hear drama. I can only imagine this person is not just a scammer, but also a compulsive liar. I used machine translations for this document, but I also had Russian helpers who spoke English confirm the accuracy of these translations. One of the translator's comments about Chokopii's voice messages was, the translation doesn't show how cruel and creepy what she writes is, and this is something I mentioned before. These translations don't really do justice to how crazy or delusional sounding these messages really are. Tara would then say, from August to October, those 3 months of art block and silence that Chokopiia mentions in her post just happened to be when Michi and Mashuro's accounts were actively posting instead. That's because in her 2025 summary, August, September, and October would be missing art. This is because, no doubt, she was focusing on Michi and Mashuro's accounts. This is what Teru is implying here. Teru would continue, as I had mentioned earlier, Chokopiia still ridicules the artist she had doxed before, while claiming that she never doxed her, like in the message above, despite the artist not being active on social media anymore. These posts from Chokopii's shitpost Telegram, right, the private Telegram from February 2026, are making fun of said artist who is currently pregnant. We can see her saying here, I don't give a shit about this person, even if she has a miscarriage, because she's still that fucking bitch who loves to whine about how bad she has it. Even if they cut her up into 10 pieces, I wouldn't give a shit. She's just a fucking piece of shit. The next day, on February 15th, 2026, she would also make another post saying, guys, I'm pregnant. Please.
To say that about a pregnant woman because she called you out for using AI when you claim to not. In my eyes, you're not even a human anymore at this point. Whatever happens to you, you deserved it. You deserved every bit of it. To say that to a pregnant woman, you clearly have no regard for other human life. That pregnant woman is just... Okay, wait, give me a minute. I'm gonna have to mute the video while I pull up that clip of Low Tier God. Give me a hot second. Chat. Chat. Here is what I feel right now. You want to see what I feel right now? Freaking... I need you to understand how I feel right now, because this is... Okay, you need to see how I feel right now. Like, absolutely tired. That is literally how I feel right now. For you to have the absolute disregard for other humans, you clearly show that if someone also views your life as worthless and decides to do something, it's fine. It is 1000% fine. I'm not encouraging someone to go hurt this person. I'm not doing that at all. I can't control other people, though. Because I'm not encouraging the people in my stream to go hurt you. I'm not encouraging that at all. But karma exists and something will happen. And you will suffer those consequences. And I'm not going to pity you at any moment. I will not pity you. I will shed no tears for you. When you disappear from this earth for whatever reason, be it old age or whatever, I'm not going to pity you, and I doubt other people in this world will pity you. because you truly show what kind of freaking person you are. You clearly show who you are and what you mean and what you are worth. And it is nothing. God freaking damn it. I apologize again.
She's referring to her, also make another how bad she has it. Even if they cut her up into 10 pieces, I wouldn't give a shit. She's just a piece of shit. The next person. And when she says outside, she's referring to a Russian Telegram group in which they expose fraudsters like Chokopiia. But this wouldn't be it, of course. She really wouldn't let this poor pregnant lady just live her life. She'd bring her up again on March 13th, 2026 in a voice message, saying, "This is my absolute favorite take. When I joked about Blank's abortion, they're like, God, how dare you bring up personal stuff just because of some online squabbles? Well, because she was the one who attacked me first. It's just an online conflict. It shouldn't spill over into real life. Yeah, I don't give a fuck. Ha 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 ha. The person who literally pinned everything on me and made herself out to be the victim, I have no right to touch her personal life? Yeah, fuck that. I don't give a shit." Terry would say, "You would think that from these posts, we're talking about an entirely separate situation or a long-time feud. Yet all this toxicity is merely because someone simply told people that Chokopiia was tracing AI." And so this would lead us to the next subsection titled Fake Improvement. On March 22nd, 2026, Chokopiia posted a before and after comparison of her art improvement. The 2014 art is part of Chokopiia's improvement meme I had shown earlier in the document, but it's attributed to
What improvement? You do nothing with your life. You type in a few words into an AI image generator that is not art, it's an image. It's a worthless, useless PNG. But you know what? It's fitting. It's fitting for you because that represents what you are worth. When you pass away, you need to donate your body to science because that is the only thing your miserable existence is worth. Every moment you draw breath, you decrease the value of oxygen. You decrease the value of your environment, of the freaking box you live in. I don't like saying that to people, but I stand by that low tier God video because that is how I feel. You contribute nothing. Your life has zero purpose. You need to disappear now.
2015 in here, not 2014. Alright, so there are two images here, right? The first image is something that Chokopiia had posted back in 2024, showing art from 2015-2024 with this coincidental 2023 art block, right? I had already shown this. But when it comes to this subsection, Terry was referencing a tweet that was made in 2026 on the new Chokopiia account. Here we can see the image that was used in 2015 on the previous template again, but this time Chokopiia would claim that it's from 2014, comparing it to an AI trace she made in 2026. Tara would say, this proved that the template image was real, as it had been deleted from Chokopai's account and there were no online sources for the picture. This is referring to the one that was made in 2024 with that little art block in 2023. Beginning with 2019, we can find that art attributed to a Commission's portfolio account called Vanu and posted on May 18, 2019. The other artworks and auctions uploaded have the Nymphia Tian watermark or linked to her fur affinity account. So this is yet another identity. The 2020 image is accurate as it dates back to February 6, 2020. This is also a Commission's site portfolio account for
This is the SpongeBob meme. Loser. Loser. Loser.
Nymphia Tian. However, I want to point out that the 2021 art is actually from April 2020 as it had been posted on Nymphia Tian's VK account. So VK is like Russian Facebook. Tracing AI will not improve your art skills. As a reminder, Asami was exclusively tracing AI for 3 years, and when the time came to maybe finally draw something without the aid of tracing, she was still unable to draw anything by herself and still had to trace an AI image. So this section here was to show that obviously this was fake improvement, but that before incorporating AI into her workflow, Chokopiia was slowly but surely improving. There was an art style there. Now she uses AI, and this AI is not going to improve her real skills. It's just not going to happen. When you do that, you're essentially giving up on this hobby. You don't want to improve anymore. So look, I'm sure this was already one hell of a roller coaster when it came to Chokopiia, all these different accounts, her role-playing as her 15-year-old sister, charging egregious amounts of money for AI-traced commissions, ghosting clients, making fun of a pregnant lady, doxing anyone who speaks against her if she can. But as crazy as this all is, she also happened to have a sidekick.
Correction. She used to be able to draw. She used to actually put in the effort to try to better herself in her craft and draw. And then she gave up because she has no direction in life, has no purpose, and has no worth because she can't be bothered to sit down and try to do something.
Neon Yakwi, otherwise known as Maria, which leads us to the next section. Neon Yakwi, Chokopii's best friend. Neon Yakwi, who also goes by Tun618 or Maria, is one of Chokopii's closest friends who translated Chokopii's reply to Diariku to make Chokopiia appear as a victim. Maria seems to have an unwavering loyalty to Chokopiia and is one of the main Russian tracers that interacts with her on Twitter. Her other friends seem to keep their distance on Twitter, probably because Chokopiia is always being called out for tracing while they're doing the same, and only interact on Telegram. Both of them really like Chandiyu's style. So they even have one of Chandiyu's
That is true. The fact that she used to be able to draw, it doesn't take away from her actions. It doesn't take away from her absolutely horrendous actions.
as matching avatars on Telegram. But get this, okay? Chokopiia gifted Maria an iPad with the money she scammed from clients on Twitter back in 2025. The artist with no integrity that saw how much money Chokopiia was making by scamming people on Twitter decided to follow her lead. As an example, Maria listed that her prices started at $10 on her Blue Sky, which is now deleted, but updated them to $300 after she started tracing AI. So on the right, we can see the Telegram post made by Maria saying, guys, I'm an iPad kid now, with an iPad and a pencil. And then the next post would be, Choco bought this for me, don't judge me, I'm a kept woman. So joking around that she was already taken by Chokopiia. But even before getting her iPad, Maria was already looking into ways to hide tracing. And here we can see two posts made by her. The first one being on February 2025 saying, hey guys, does anyone know if you can hide layers in Clip Studio? I just want to use AI to trace, please help. The second one was made on the 2nd of May 2025. One look is enough for me to close the channel, and when someone accuses me of AI, all it takes is a smirk from me and that person ends up apologizing. Like Chokopiia, Maria has two Telegram channels, one for art and one for shitposting. Maria was always aware that Chokopiia was Michi, Mashiro, Laverial, etc. She had retweeted Michi's October post, but quietly removed the retweet after I had replied to it to avoid becoming involved. She would follow the same pattern of behavior as Chokopiia. She'd very clearly say, no AI in her bio, and when someone would confront her in replies saying, wow, so everybody's tracing AI these days, she'd say, this is very offensive. I have a speed paint for this art, as I do for all my art. Or another reply where she says, darling, I'm not trying to prove anything to you personally. If you could find my Telegram channel, you can find my drawings starting from 2021. Tara would point out that both of these comments defending herself are no longer findable on Twitter. They've been deleted. And so, just in case it didn't get through your head, Tara would yet again list red flags that you should look out for when you encounter an account like Neon Yakwi. Joining Twitter recently, posting high-skill hololive fan art, right, so a fandom with a strong fan base, that just so happens to have curvy anatomy. Another red flag is great anatomy, but of course, some weird things happening, like 6 fingers, wonky hands, looping hair, and of course having no digital footprint. The idea that this highly skilled artist just spawned one day, right, and started posting. And
Literally, like, I'm not gonna sit here and say that like human mistakes don't exist. Artists make human mistakes. That's just life. That's a fact. But supposedly an artist at your supposed skill level should not be making these mistakes.
In this case, though, Teru the detective managed to find old art of Maria under a different username, Mary Meow. I think the difference here speaks for itself. I'm literally not going to say anything, man. I mean, holy shit. Maria's old art, compared to the art that she posts today, is not even in another world or galaxy, it's in another universe. We see three different examples here: November 2023, January 2024, and March 2024. These are the drawings you'd expect someone who is just starting to draw to post. Someone who is an amateur, someone who's barely started to learn how to draw. And yet by 2025, this is the kind of art you expect from someone who's been drawing for over 10 years extremely passionately and regularly. This to many was no doubt damning evidence, but there was even more. Maria was still posting original art that wasn't traced as far back as February 2025. But then all of a sudden, they had become an expert. Teru would say pro artists aren't created in a vacuum, and generally you will be able to trace back an artist's digital art online even if it's under a different username or old social media accounts. It seems that Maria's previous Twitter was hacked, so she couldn't delete her old art to cover her tracks. Had that happened though, she has an Amino Apps profile you could look up that shows her previous art from 2023. You really can't hide anything from Teru, like you straight up can't. And just like the previous art we already saw, there's a huge skill jump, but also a completely different art style. Now, as I said, this is a pattern of behavior. Maria would also have traced time lapses posted to her account to prove that she's not using AI, just like Chokopiia. But she'd make a pretty big mistake in posting one time lapse in particular. This third time lapse right here on the right would get deleted because, according to Teru, Maria forgot to hide the layer she used to trace the horn and flashed it for a second. And what's interesting is that this horn belongs to another image she had traced just a few days before. Very embarrassing. But according to Teru, there would be another time lapse with even worse slip-ups, and it would all be in the face. At this supposed skill level, drawing a side view face and eyes should be relatively simple. You wouldn't have to trace over a previous face or eyes you drew before. Evidently, Maria didn't set those Procreate layers as hidden so they wouldn't show in the final time-lapse, and she only noticed they were in the time-lapse after uploading it to Twitter. The post was then deleted. So yeah, even in Procreate where you can hide layers, it was obvious that there was some tracing involved here when it came to the eyes. But that wouldn't be everything weird in this time-lapse. There would also be an instance of 6 fingers. Teru would say it's very easy to miss as it happens near the end. Maria was not paying attention and traced an extra finger. Of course, by the time she had noticed and deleted the image on Twitter, it was too late. People had already shared it and uploaded it to Danburu, the image board. Maria went back and fixed the fingers, then re-uploaded the image. Teru would say a single artwork having an extra finger is not indicative of AI tracing. This is a result of multiple red flags accumulating over time. Artists can make human mistakes, and in the past, before AI, you can find artworks where artists accidentally added an extra finger while drawing hands. I would like to note that the amount of artists accidentally adding extra fingers has increased since then, though. So to some of you, when you hear Teru talk about things like this, it might seem obvious to you, but for a lot of people, it's not. There have been actual witch hunts against real artists because of the rise of AI and the lack of trust in the art community. This is why Teru makes these disclaimers. It's important for someone who doesn't know art while reading this. And of course, continuing with this pattern of behavior, Maria, just like Chokopiia, would post art that is very similar to Chandaiyu's style, using what seems to be a LoRa that was trained exclusively on Chandaiyu's drawings to make her own AI-generated traced illustrations that she would post on her Twitter. The resemblance is insane. And of course, seeing that Maria was probably doing this for the same reason that Chokopiia was, money, she would also charge for commissions. At the current time, Maria is taking commissions starting at $300. Her prices were $135 for a half body back in April 2025 before raising them to $300 during December 2025. We confirmed that unfortunately many people had commissioned her before finding out she was tracing. The following images are from her card portfolio. On one of these images, you'd see a missing hand. And on another image, you'd see incredible anatomy, and yet there would be looping hair, another sign of AI. But that wouldn't be all, because we wouldn't have just one person pretending to be 15-year-old in this controversy. We'd have 2. And here we go. Encouraged by Chokopiia and her multiple accounts, Maria would try to do the same strategy of making an alt persona to scam more people with traced commissions. On February 2025, this account was created, Mei-chan 200. This would, of course, I mean, I'm tired of saying it, but pattern of behavior, the same exact thing Chokopiia was doing. In fact, it would be such a Control-C, Control-V to what Chokopiia was doing that Maria on this alt account would claim that she was also 15 years old. So weird. They would spawn around the same exact time according to Teru and would immediately start interacting with each other on Twitter. And to Teru, again, this would be another opportunity to point out red flags, but by now I think you already know them. And on top of this 15-year-old artist would already have a Patreon ready to go while charging $200 for commissions. But what if Mei-chan was yet another 15-year-old that was being roleplayed by Chokopiia? This is when Teru would outline why they think this is
Dude, okay, this is getting weird. Why do you keep pretending to be a 15-year-old and making not safe for work stuff and doing all this? Like, dude.
genuinely Maria's alt. Unlike Choco, Maria didn't follow herself when she made Mei-chan 200. Instead, she followed Michi, Chokopii's other alts like Lavadiol and Kira Uep, and the rest of her Russian tracer circle. The reason I believe this is Maria and not Chokopiia is based on these observations. Number 1. When Mei-chan made her account, Chokopiia had yet to gift Maria her iPad plus Procreate. Maria was still using a regular tablet and Clip Studio. Mei-chan mentions using desktop Clip Studio Paint. Number 2. Although fluctuating a lot, the style did not seem immediately similar to images posted by Chokopiia, Michi, or Mashiro, where you could make a vague connection between the faces. And number 3, the desaturated color values of the first few images Mei-chan had uploaded resembled Maria's color palette values from earlier artworks instead of Chokopii's. And here we can see 2 artworks by Mei-chan and 1 artwork by Nian Yakui, and yes, they look very similar, same color palette, same saturation, almost as if posted by the same person. And so, this would lead us to the final section involving both Chokopiia and Nian Yakui. With Teru saying, as it currently stands, I don't expect either Chokopiia or Nian Yakui to apologize or stop what they are doing. If anything, Chokopiia will find it amusing that someone has dedicated so many pages to talk about her, and ultimately, all publicity is good publicity for her. But this document was never made with the intention to get a response out of her anyway. And even if they delete their accounts, I doubt they will give up on tracing. After all, this is a very easy scam to run. If they stop, it will be a matter of time until they make new accounts and start over again by pretending to be different artists. This was the case with Misui, who had already made 3 accounts consecutively, and Asami, who after miserably failing to fool people, deleted everything regarding the situation, continued to post as usual, and recently made a new account pretending to be a new artist. We'll check that out at the end of the video. Chokopiia has multiple Russian friends running the same tracing scam on Twitter at the moment. Some of these tracers also have VGen accounts. VGen staff does not have a good framework to tell when their users are tracing, so reports usually don't do anything. There was a situation recently where they finally banned a tracer, only to reinstate their account when the tracer presented a forward screen recording despite all of the overwhelming evidence pointing out that this person has always been tracing before. So if you don't know what VGen is, it's a platform where only approved artists can sell their art, and they have a strict no AI policy, so the entire platform is rooted in trust that you're buying art from real people. But unfortunately, even they can't detect when someone is tracing using AR or something, because who would go to such lengths to fake being an artist? So Terry would say, for this reason, I urge clients to at least look into the backgrounds of new artists they are planning to commission. Do not trust VGen to do the vetting. The people who do this deflect by calling
Very
these situations
sad. Very sad.
I don't believe that term applies to a situation where you are letting others know about fraud. I am aware, however, that there are certain people, more often non-artists, that love pointing out fingers and screaming AI towards artworks that, when analyzed by a competent artist, do not show signs of being AI or traced in the slightest. The kind of people that see the bucket tool not filling in the last 2 pixels in the line art intersection and somehow find that suspicious when it's simply a normal digital art occurrence. Because I don't expect Chokopiia or her friends to stop making new identities to take scam commissions, I will expand the document to include a summary of red flags I had provided through the document to spot traced AI. Did you think I was done with Chokopiia and her friends' alt accounts? I would like to present yet another account likely related to them. Now look, this alt account right here would be called ML Kamari. Again, another red flag showing up out of nowhere, amazing talent, no digital footprint, etc, etc. Teru believes that this account might belong to Chokopiia or Nian Yakui, but unlike the other instances of alt accounts, they couldn't find a very direct source to prove that this account was related to them. Instead, they would do some very impressive, detailed detective work, looking at patterns on dresses in certain drawings, analyzing the tiniest details, like known workflows used by Maria or Chokopiia, as well as even looking at the location displayed on Twitter to determine that this has to belong to either Maria or Chokopiia. To Teru, this is proof that these 2 best friends are becoming smarter with making new alt accounts that are not directly tied to their previous identities, continuing on with the scam and making money from unsuspecting clients. And as I mentioned in the beginning, the rest of this document would talk about different artists that are doing the same thing, based on proof from their art, whether it be their past art versus their art today, whether it be the incredible evolution of their art, or just their shady behavior. But as impressive as Teru's document was, with all the evidence, the proof, the formatting, it didn't cost.
Yes, that is very true, Lapin. Yeah, they keep doing it because they can make money from it. And it's scamming, it's fraud, it's a crime. They're gonna do it to the wrong person one day. And then they're gonna find out. And not a single tear will be shed that day. Nothing of value will be lost.
Cause Chokopi or Maria to just disappear overnight. In fact, they would end up replying with their own Google Docs. Alright, so before any official responses were made by both Chokopi and Maria, the first form of response would be made by Chokopi as an acknowledgement in her private Telegram channel. She'd say, "Today, the same person writes about me on all social networks that I'm an AI tracer. I don't really care, I'm just silently blocking. I haven't cared for a long time, it just feeds me, huh." Soon afterwards, on the 19th of June 2026, Maria would actually make a tweet first, before Chokopi. She'd tag Teru and then say, "Teru, a fighter for justice, the ultimate AI exposer."
I very, very much believe in karma. So, it's gonna come one day. Don't know when, don't know how, but it's gonna come. And it's gonna be so therapeutic.
The great hope of real artists, or a liar, someone who loves organizing harassment and falsely accusing actual artists. Today I'm presenting a document I spent around 36 hours writing. It's dedicated to Teru's false accusations. Now the tweet would be longer, but Maria would delete it. On June 20th, she would post it again, this time removing the first few lines that we read. Instead, what she'd do is tag Teru and say that Teru falsely accused me of using AI. I wrote a 220-page document refuting all of it. Please, if you believed her, read this document and stop writing offensive things to me. I didn't write this document because I want revenge. I wrote it because I'm genuinely heartbroken for my own hands. The hands that draw everything completely by myself. If I were actually a tracer, I would have just ignored the whole situation. I never would have reacted like this because there wouldn't have been any real effort or soul put into my art in the first place. But seeing how easily people believed her accusations broke my heart. It killed every bit of inspiration I had left.
Wow, wow, wow. I'm a baby back bitch. I'm a victim. Wow, wow, wow. Someone calling me out for my actions. Wow, wow, wow. Eat shit and kick rocks.
No longer see the point in continuing to draw if so many people think
Good
it's
night,
nothing more than
Yzma.
tracing. This
Rest
devaluation
well.
is slowly rotting my mental state. I can't sleep because of tachycardia. I can't stop thinking about it. I still want to draw, but I can't because now it feels completely meaningless. I thought that after our private conversation and a magma session together, this would finally be over, but she wouldn't even allow me that. She talked to me as if I had no feelings, as if she didn't care about all my experience, like I wasn't even a person to her. My reputation's already ruined. No matter what I do, I'm sure most people will just ignore this document and her followers will keep commenting AI and Tracer under my artworks, treating me like a soulless machine. As if Teru is right that I'm not human and don't deserve to make art. I truly hope that at least some of the people who believe her will read this and realize that I don't deserve any of this. In my whole life, I have never offended anyone. I have never had a conflict because someone else's grief makes me feel very bad myself. And even now, I so want to protect myself, but I understand that this document will make her feel bad. I don't want any of that. I already tried posting this document yesterday, but the truth is, I felt insecure and ended up deleting it. Why did the situation have to happen? Alright, so definitely a very emotionally charged statement here. You either feel bad for her, wondering what she might have written in her document, or you might be seeing the same pattern that was talked about in the Teru document. Remembering how Maria was the one who actually wrote Chokopi's statement in which she pretty much acted like the victim. How this might be a page from that playbook. So is she actually a victim, or is she not? Well, let's check out the Google document. Alright, so this document is around 97 pages. I don't know how exactly. Teru had 17 pages dedicated just for Maria. The rest was for Chokopi. This document doesn't even talk about Chokopi. These 97 pages are purely just about Maria and her point of view. So let's see what she has to say, and I will take the liberty to sum things up if things get repetitive. So this would start off with Maria saying, "So, I'd like to start by pointing out that before publishing the document, Teru made absolutely no attempt to contact or interact with me. I had no idea whatsoever that anyone was preparing a document about me. Why am I mentioning this? Because if you've read Asami's document, which was also written by Teru, you probably know that Teru did reach out to her before it was published. She messaged Asami both in private DMs and by email, asking her to provide evidence, such as speed paints, recording of them drawing together magma, or actual files of her artwork. She did the same exact thing with Chokopi. She notified her that she was going to write a document about her, mentioning her username multiple times, and even reposting all the derogatory posts about her. What did I get? Complete silence and total ignoring from her side. Plus being confidently labeled a tracer right at the very beginning of her document about me before she had provided even a single piece of proof. Let's fast forward a little because the whole issue of Teru ignoring me didn't end there. So here we'd see an image of DMs between Maria and Teru on June 14th, 2026, in which Maria sends 4 different messages trying to reach out and have a conversation with Teru, and Teru ignores her. Maria would say, and now you're looking at the very reason this document exists. In this screenshot, I tried to contact Teru immediately after reading her document about me. As you can see, from the very first moment, I was more than ready to prove that I can draw my own art, by any method Teru herself would choose. I was willing to set up a camera in my room, fully show my face, and whatever it took to completely prove that I create my drawings myself. Maria would then show us a tweet from Teru, in which Teru says, since I expect neither of them to address this and completely ignore it, the Danburu man can reach out to me and I will share the rest of her AI circle. This was Teru quote tweeting their own Google Doc. Maria would say, here's what Teru wrote on her profile, claiming that I was completely ignoring her. At that point, I thought maybe her private messages simply weren't reaching me for some reason, or Twitter was glitching again, so I decided to leave a comment under that very same post. And here we can see Maria saying, hello Teru, I'm not ignoring you, I just wrote you a DM, could you please check it when you have time? This is when Maria would continue, I was extremely polite because I genuinely thought it was just a small misunderstanding. I believed that one conversation and providing solid proof would be enough to clear up all the suspicions, but once again I was met with complete silence from Teru. Why didn't I post about the situation on my profile? There are a few reasons. First of all, I'm not a confrontational person. I always try to avoid arguments with people. I don't like drama, because I believe any conflict can be resolved privately between the 2 people involved. There's no need to drag the entire internet community into it. At this point, I already have some guesses about why she chose not to reply to me, neither in DMs nor under the comment, but we'll talk about that later. Maria would then say, Teru deleted that post but still never replied to me. So this is of course referencing the post that Teru made in which they quote tweeted their own document. On that post, apart from my comment, there was only one other comment. Now I have a question for you, my dear readers. Did Teru really not see my message? Another update later. I posted the document and tagged Teru, but then I deleted the post because I wanted to fix some inaccuracies and blur out the usernames of unrelated people in the screenshots. As a bonus, I suddenly got a reply from her in private messages. So here we can see Teru saying, hello Maria, your messages were under hidden DMs. To which Maria would say, hello, okay, what about Magma? Teru would reply with, I hope you can understand that I don't hold any grudges or harsh feelings despite what the people you're involved with have done. I have seen other screenshots that I did not talk about or show in the Google Doc, so it's hard for me to trust you at the moment, especially knowing how involved you are with Chokopiia. I don't want this issue to go on forever, but I do believe people can learn from situations and do better. They don't have to be held back by the things they've done in the past. You have the skill to draw on your own after all. I have seen the magmas you have participated in before. To which Maria would reply with, and what are you trying to say? That being friends with someone automatically makes me an AI? So here Maria claims that Teru was lying because her account is in shadow banned, so there's no reason for her to be in hidden DMs. She would also claim that Teru was dodging the idea of doing a magma drawing session together. According to Maria, she believes that Teru's feelings towards her are purely based on her friendship with Chokopiia. She did confront her on this with the message we just read out, in which she said, and what are you trying to say? That being friends with someone automatically makes me an AI? To which Teru would reply with, I don't think.
Dude, she's hesitant because you are nothing but a Chokopiia glazer. So how can she trust you when she's already seen how they can be faked? And you're not even the main one who the doc was about. Why? You're not a victim. You're not. It's just it literally isn't about you. It's not about you.
What others do define you even when you're friends. Also, in this case, we're not talking about someone who only uses AI. In fact, I assume my replies will be forwarded to her anyway, which is why I hope you can understand I can't take anything you say at face value. Maria would say, no, I'm not going to tell Chokopiia about this, I'm too lazy to translate. Anyway, why don't we do a magma session? And Teru says, I just wanted to respond since you DM'd me because I know what it feels like to be ignored. My intent was to just clarify this was not just about AI. Maria would say, to be honest, I don't quite understand what you mean by this. You don't explain anything at all. It's much more painful than being ignored than receiving accusations that don't apply to me. Do you know that my racing heart has kept me awake for 3 days? Oh, never mind. In any case, that was the reason I wanted to resolve everything.
Keep bitching, keep crying, keep whining. Maybe one day you'll dream of a person who actually cares.
By going to the magma with you. But now I don't understand what you're trying to say. You clearly refuse to discuss the topic of magma, so you mean you won't believe me in any case? To which Teru would say, you're an artist already and have skill. It's not about how capable you are, but rather artworks that have already been drawn in the past and how you closely involved you were with Chokopiia. I hope that clears things up. So Maria would say, so do you think I'm AI or not? I don't understand anything. Teru, it seems we've come to no conclusions in the end. Tell me clearly, you won't remove my part from the Chokopiia document no matter what evidence I provide? Maria in the document would say this is the 3rd time she ignored my question about the magma session, while also admitting that I am, in fact, an artist and that I do have skill. So if you know I'm an artist, What was all this for, Teru? You deliberately chose to ruin my reputation and call me a fraud just because you're unhappy with the people I'm friends with? Very fair. There was no reply after my last question. So what do we have in the end? Teru refuses to join me in a magma session and refuses to edit the document to remove the misinformation about me. This means she sees herself as the judge and me as the defendant, but for some reason I don't even have the right to a defense. If I hadn't decided to stand up for myself, spending a massive amount of time and nerves, who would have protected me? Who would have actually looked into it? No one, and I wouldn't have received any reply in DMs if it weren't for this document. So far to Maria, this is all very unfair. She feels as though she's been mistreated, like she didn't have a chance to defend herself, and that her reputation is now ruined purely because someone decided that she was an AI user. At the same time though, from Teru's perspective, one could argue that the document was mostly about Chokopiia. This was the main person that was featured there. They might have seen Maria purely as just an extension of Chokopiia, someone who was aiding them in their scamming AI enterprise. But now that we're reading a document that was written by Maria in which she tries her best to defend herself, how does she refute everything that Teru said in their document? Well, this brings us to the next section. Maria would say, that's all for this part, let's move on to her evidence. And now let's talk about my Telegram messages, which Teru translated and used as proof that I use AI and make huge amounts of money from it. We'll go through each one separately. So the first thing we'd see here is that image that Maria had posted in which she showed off an iPad, saying, Chokopiia bought this for me, don't judge me, I'm a kept woman. Maria would claim that this was a joke, that she had used her personal savings of around 65,000 rubles, which was $600 at the time, to buy this. Chokopiia was not the one who bought this for her. They would show an image of the transaction that was done on some sort of banking app showing minus 65,000 rubles. Maria would then justify why she needed an iPad, why it made drawing easier, and would then show the first drawing that they ever drew on the iPad, saying that the reason why they're showing this here is because it'll make an appearance later in the document. She would then show two different Telegram messages that she had made that were featured in Teru's document. The first one being, hey guys, does anyone know if you can hide layers in Clip Studio? I just want to use AI to trace, please help. And the other one being, one look is enough for me to close the channel, and when someone accuses me of AI, all it takes is a smirk from me and that person ends up apologizing. Maria would claim that both of these messages were jokes, that even if she was tracing, she would never make it this obvious. This is why she doesn't consider this to be solid evidence of tracing. The next major part here would be about how in Teru's document, we were told that Maria was repeating Chokopiia's pattern in which she acted like a victim when people pointed out that she was tracing, using two tweets as an example. The ones that were deleted, in which Maria says, this is very offensive, I have speed paint for this art as I do for all my art, or, darling, I'm not trying to prove anything to you personally, if you could find my Telegram channel, you can find my drawings starting from 2021. Maria would say, quote unquote, acting like a victim. First of all, where exactly am I acting like a victim? Secondly, even if I were, how am I supposed to behave when someone shows up with zero proof and calls me AI? Should I go up to her and say, wow, thank you so much, you're right? Or maybe even apologize to her for making her think I'm an AI tracer? Teru, as an artist yourself, how do you usually react when some random person who knows nothing about you or your experience comments, wow, cool AI line art, or something like that? Do you immediately start a stream just for that one person, or invite?
Oh my god, Schrodinger's joke. Yes, oh, oh my god, I just need to push through it. This is wah wah wah, bitch baby, cry to your parents, I don't even love you.
Them to draw together in magma? After all, as you yourself say, simple speed paints aren't proof. What I also found interesting are Teru's double standards. So here Maria links an image from the Asami document in which Teru said, proving that you aren't tracing is really simple if you are not tracing AI. This person was invited to draw together in a browser-based Canvas website, but their response was that they don't have to prove themselves to anyone or convince anyone. This website in question being magma.com, this is a simple free way to show everyone you are not tracing. So to Maria, Asami got this chance, Chokopiia got this chance, but again, she didn't. Saying that to her, it seems that Teru doesn't think that she deserves a chance to prove herself in Magma. Next up, she wouldn't really understand why this artwork that she had made of Shadow as a human was used in Teru's document. She'd say, I still don't understand whether this was meant in the context of him looking ugly or that he's too beautiful, I don't know. And she'd argue that of course he'd look different from her other drawings, this is a man and she was drawing women. I think Teru included this in their document because there's a very distinct difference in how this character was rendered, the art style he was drawn in, compared to other characters. It doesn't really matter what the gender is, but hey, I could be wrong, it's up to you to decide. Maria would then start talking about the red flags that Teru had in her document, like for example how Nyanyakwi joined Twitter on June 2025, and the red flag here was that there was no history, no digital footprint, you just show up with amazing art. Maria would say, sometimes I get the feeling that Teru is jealous of Twitter and doesn't want anyone except herself and her friends to post here. And then she'd argue that she's been online since 2017 running a Telegram channel and actually does have quite the history on the internet. This is when she would try her best to address the second red flag, which is you will notice that despite the pro anatomy, there are multiple tracing elements in their art, instead of a one time mistake such as wonky hands, extra fingers, and most of the time, long looping hair that lacks coherence. So for the looping hair, Maria would argue that there are no signs of AI even though it might look strange. That's because she draws randomly and can't overthink every single strand and doesn't aim to make everything perfectly correct. She just wanted to look beautiful and please her personally. She'd also have the same argument for the ears, arguing why does every single detail have to be anatomically correct? If we start dissecting any artist's work like this, it would turn out that we're all tracers and there are no real artists left in the world. Just as a reminder, she is referencing these two images right here, right? Clear looping hair and ears that Teru found to be, well, interesting, worth pointing out at least. For the hand that looks kind of weird, Maria would argue that she specifically took a photo of her own hand IRL to draw it, admitting that maybe it didn't turn out great, but still emphasizing that she didn't use any AI here. She would then argue this is a minor flaw. Unfortunately, she's not a big fan of drawing hands. And finally, when it came to the whole six finger issue, Maria would say, finally, a genuinely strong argument in your favor, Teru. In this case, I have no proof. It's entirely up to you whether to believe me or not. But yes, it is a mistake. I often screw up hands in this kind of pose. Usually I notice it quickly and fix it, but here I simply didn't catch it in time. The only thing I can say about this is that I have one old drawing from 2019 to 2020 where both hands have six fingers. So you can see this isn't the first time it's happened, and it occurred long before AI even existed. So, it's definitely interesting that she has done this mistake before, but this was like 6 years ago, and you would assume that someone drawing for more than half a decade wouldn't let something like this so easily pass. I mean, you could make the mistake, but then realize you made it and correct it before posting it. It's interesting to miss six fingers as an experienced artist and post it anyway. She would then argue that the last image here of this hand has nothing wrong with it. She genuinely is just curious why this was even included in the document. It's kind of doing like this spider pose, right? That's the best way I can describe it if you're not looking at the screen right now. She'd argue even if it does look weird, why does only a machine have the right to make mistakes in a drawing? Isn't making mistakes in certain moments the most human thing there is? These flaws aren't even that critical, and there's nothing here that even remotely resembles AI, except the six fingers. I'd also like to mention that all the mistakes she pointed out are only from my very old artworks. Even the profile screenshot Teru used is old because I've already changed my avatar several times since then. Doesn't this mean that when she wrote the document, Teru relied exclusively on outdated information? And so this is interesting to point out, of course, but the whole idea, I think, remains the same. Whether this was drawn years ago or today, Teru's argument was that these illustrations have godly anatomy in certain areas, but then in some others have very inconsistent anatomy. And I think depending on your opinion, the argument could definitely still stand. How is it that you draw a perfect face, a perfect body, a perfect pose, but then end up drawing six fingers and not even realizing it until after you post? If it was an element by itself, then people would be willing to give you the benefit of the doubt, but the fact that you also had things like looping hair definitely raises suspicions. That's the problem. Maria would then go ahead and criticize Teru's stance on the idea that an artist needs to have a digital footprint for you to trust them. That if someone just popped up with a lot of skill one day, it doesn't really make them very trustworthy. She'd argue that not everyone has the discipline or desire to run social media accounts. I'm studying art at university, and out of all my classmates, only a couple have any social media related to art on Instagram, proving that she did have a long history on the internet. And yeah, this must have been around the time that she had started posting for the first time, or even was delving into art. According to her, these were back in 2020. And this brings us to the next section, in which you can see Maria's first ever drawing on an iPad being compared to this more recent drawing in which the art style, the anatomy, literally everything is different. For Maria, this worried her the most, because according to her, Teru was deliberately picking out her most
Hola, ¿cómo te llamas?
successful artworks to make herself look right, and how people who are too lazy to double check her claims easily believe it. She'd say, remember that first artwork, right? The very first one I drew on the iPad with great difficulty? Well, then she'd show us some art that she made even before that on Clip Studio. According to her, these were done even before she had received an iPad. She would then say, and here are a few artworks I drew much earlier in Clip Studio. Why didn't Teru choose any of those? Wouldn't it be more logical to compare two girls with similar body types instead of picking one with huge breasts and the other one with a small one? I'm not claiming that's fact, but I'm suggesting that she deliberately chose my unsuccessful sketch of Ina specifically to look more convincing to other people. Now, when it comes to this, I think Teru didn't specifically pick this deliberately because it was quote-unquote bad or anything. It's just that this drawing, this first
Hola,
iPad drawing, was
Jorge.
done in the same exact year, just a few months apart from that crazy good Narissa drawing. Even if it's your first time drawing on another medium, the foundation should still be there. And this drawing simply doesn't show the same person who had drawn Narissa.
There's always going to be a learning curve, whether it's from going from traditional to digital or even between different programs. Like for me personally, I began in Clip Studio Paint, and then I moved to Procreate, and then I moved to Ibis Paint. Yeah, there are learning curves. There are learning curves, but the very basics and core of your style and how you do something does not disappear. Even if it is slightly different compared, like for example, the style of how you drew in Procreate because that's what you're used to, or Clip Studio Paint because that's what you're used to, and you switch over to Ibis Paint suddenly, it's going to be different. It's going to be skewed a little bit because you're getting used to a new program with different like functions and settings, and that's okay. But it's not going to erase the core of what you draw or do. That's not how it works.
At least that's how it seems for me. I'd be curious to see what you think too. If there was like a 5 year or 10 year difference, yeah, I'd believe it. But as it stands right now, just a few months apart, this isn't like regular, normal human progress. Unless she's a wizard or something, which is also a possibility. She would then bring up these three images that were shown in Teru's document of Maria's old drawings. And she'd argue that what Teru said was a massive skill jump is very reasonable since there was a 3 year gap between this and the new drawings that we saw above, arguing that it's not easy to adapt to digital when you've drawn on paper your whole life. She would then show us a bunch of drawings that she made physically on paper, and while some of them do look cute, none of them are anything close to what's being shown today. I mean, these drawings right here were as recent as 2022, and they show us that there's a fundamental misunderstanding on certain anatomical parts of the body. So this never really was about the concept of going from physical to digital. This was about just, the idea that there was a massive skill jump. An artist usually has growing pains when changing mediums when it comes to where they draw, but that doesn't mean that the fundamentals are going to disappear too. Maria would say, Teru's main complaint was that I'm suspiciously good at anatomy, but as you can see, I've never really had any serious problems with it. I mean, man, if we're going to look at this right here, like the perspective is absolutely screwed up. If a normal person showed me this, I wouldn't say you have a serious problem with anatomy. I'd say, hey, you have some more studying to do. But compared to the drawings that she's making now, all of a sudden, miraculously, there's a massive difference. This isn't the same person, period. Is 3 years enough to go from this to the drawings we saw earlier? I'll let you decide, okay? I'm not an expert artist, but there's clearly a massive difference here. Teru's main argument was that there was a massive skill jump specifically from 2024 to 2025, in which they believe Maria started using AI. Maria would argue that for the year of 2024, she spent every single day drawing. This, on top of already having decent skill, meant that this was normal. This is when we would reach the whole infamous Narissa Ravencroft horn incident, right? In which Teru accused Maria of tracing and forgetting to hide a hidden layer. Maria would say that she never uses hidden layers. Also saying, while it is true that this horn was traced, it was traced from his right. Reading her document, it feels like everything I do is either done for AI or because of AI, because everything ultimately comes back to that. Of course, Teru, I have absolutely no other reasons to delete my artworks except AI. None whatsoever. It must be kind of sad sometimes to realize that not everyone is as obsessed with AI as you are, huh? Another thing I wanted to say is how surprised I am by the absolute confidence with which she says the phrase, this horn belongs to another image she had traced just a few days before. And so that's it. Here she argues that Teru was running to conclusions, that there was no proof that she had stolen it from another art piece. And that's it. She doesn't talk more about the horn. She doesn't even specify why she deleted this, right? Because remember, after the time-lapse showed that she was tracing the horn, she would immediately delete it. No mention of that. When it came to the other slip-up, however, the whole six-finger mistake and the idea that she was tracing eyes on the character, Maria would say that Teru made an oversight here because the time-lapse wasn't deleted, saying that it was published precisely because of her six-finger mistake, saying that she wanted to show that it was really nothing more than a silly error. Now, she wouldn't link the time-lapse, unfortunately, showing...
I'm suffering. I'm suffering. This is dog water. This is pathetic. You're both losers. You get a life. What's that Dr. Phil video? Freaking Dr. Phil is like, whatever. I swear to God. Where is it? Here it is. Here it is.
Go kill yourself. Nobody likes you. Everybody hates you. You would be better off dead. Just go kill yourself.
Me to Chokopiia. Oh, here it is. Here's what I was thinking.
You're ugly. You're disgusting. I'm going to kill you. Give me $200.
Full disclosure, I'm not going to go out of my way to waste my time to end the life of absolute worthless people like that. But that is how I feel right now. That is how I feel right now. I'm sorry. I can't finish this. They're both such whining bitches. I'm ending it today, guys. I can't. My brain hurts. It's dying trying to pretend that I give a shit about these worthless losers. I hope you guys have a good day. And don't be bitch babies and worthless losers in your life. Goodbye.